What is up, one and all
Hey guys.
misfits to this episode of Call Me Call Me Spectacle, Call Me Skeptical. Has God ever spoken to you? Where tonight we are opening up the internet phone lines to see if anyone can help us understand, well, why they would think a deity talks to them. Hello, operator? Operator?
Houston, we have a problem.
We have a problem. So won't you join James W., our special co-host, Atheist Jr., and myself, Amy Newman, for a divinely good time. Oh
Two
my.
humans and a half lizard.
Woo-hoo!
That's right, guys. We had to go find Amy. We had to. You don't even want to know where we had to pull her out of, but she's back.
Sometimes you gotta go in derp, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
But yes, I want to thank you all for joining us out there on the.
Her props are falling over, guys.
It's almost getting too much to handle. I was gonna open this in a second, but yes, thank you for joining us on the InterTubes. If you're feeling fancy, please don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe, because then you gain access to that bell icon, which when set to all will give you reminders to see our premieres or join our live streams. What is up, interwebs?
So, does that say 15footwhalepenis.com
Well,
on the
I
site?
will say, I think this is officially 15 feet of phallic whale. Yeah.
No.
Maybe. But I couldn't help it. I was looking for a way to represent our main man, Moses, who I know is about to be going away for a while in our Skeptic Bible study.
Oh,
but
never existed
I
to
couldn't
begin
help
with,
myself that James, sometimes you need to let your people go and then harden Pharaoh's heart to then not let that happen for some reason.
Right. Makes sense. Free will, people. Free will.
Exactly. Free will. You know when it's most free? When people are drowning. Side story, a little bit beforehand, but
or burning in hell.
Or burning.
That would be.
That thing looks pretty nice, actually. Like I want to have one of those now.
A Moses staff.
Yeah. I thought it was just like a really big Harry Potter wand.
It is, but it also, I'd like to think that when I take this up against Pharaoh and his magicians, that this can go head to head with any of their snakes.
Turn it into a viper?
Exactly. Hold on. Let's see if I can do a magic trick. Here we go. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Are we good?
Hey, it worked.
It worked. Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, who says magic isn't real? Science. Mostly science.
Oh. You're going to listen to them.
I know. Who are you going to listen to? Yo, I have listened to Dawaists try to convince me for the past few months that we have not went to the moon. Speaking of which...
Is
there even a moon?
You have the Bible verse that says that Moses turned his staff into a snake, and then if you play Dungeons and Dragons, there's a spell in there called Sticks to Snake, and both of those things have an equal likelihood of actually having happened.
It's true. And I would say you're going to have a much better Saturday with one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The funny thing about that story, though, is that how it confirms polytheism. Because remember, the Pharaoh's sorcerers, they were also able to turn their snakes into or sticks into snakes. The only thing is that Moses' snake ate the other snake, so his god is better than their gods, but they're all
It's true.
gods.
It's
Well,
all about who has a bigger snake.
there are some
Yeah.
Islamist fundamentalists who live in the Middle East who persecute Christians because they think, they have buildings that will have electronic signs that say, there's God, basically that God has no son. They think that Christians are polytheists because the Bible says that
Oh, yeah.
there's a Trinity and that God
They think it's
it's not
polytheism.
just it's not just God, it's God and he has a son and then there's the Holy Spirit. So they say that they're worshiping multiple gods, and I could see where they're coming from.
Sure. So I will say the first thing that always comes to mind when it's two religions fighting, canon battle. Um, but yes, absolutely. In that, Christianity is odd. I don't think Christians understand how odd that it is, just because it's a cultural norm in many countries, and yet
It's that crazy thing we all do. Like, we all do it. Everybody does it. Hey, we all believe in they're three, but they're also one. But they are really three, but they're also just one. They're three and they're one. And both at the same time. But neither too.
we also drink his blood. It's completely normal, ladies
We
and
all
gentlemen.
do it.
Eat
It's
his body.
normal. It's normal.
Well, I think that's one of the most insidious things about religion is the traditions that it instills in society, because atheists celebrate Christmas and we don't even think about it. But that's a subtle way that, that's how this is stuck around for so long, is that it gets its hooks into people's culture and into their
Part of
repeated
it, yeah.
holidays and their traditions. And the whole point of a tradition is to keep something going. So that's a really, sort
And
of
speaking
nasty way that it sticks around.
of tradition, and I have a pet peeve. I was one of those stereotypical uh, kids in high school who did not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance because it just felt creepy to me. And many of those things have had "in God" on our money, in our uh, slogan, I think, all
Under God.
over recently
In
since
God
like
we
the
trust.
50s.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so they've begun to use it as precedent because they've saying, oh, it's been around forever since the 50s, even though really for hundreds of years it was not like that at all. But they're trying to get their hooks. They're trying to get in.
It's trying to
Yeah.
hang on like for dear life because it feels it's slipping away. So it's got to try and
Yeah.
hook on wherever it can get.
Well, I live in Texas, which is like a mini America unto itself. And at my school, I can remember that you didn't have to say the pledge, but you had to stand up for it. And I don't know. I don't remember
Yes.
anybody actually refusing to do it, but
So that is exactly what happened. So this is the exact motion that I remember a lot in high school. And so I would just stand and I'd be like, okay. Because it's just
So
creepy. Like I said, I'm patriotic. I like our country. I actually like a lot of what, hopefully, we need to defend a lot of the gains that we've had in Western society and other countries lately. But it's just weird pledging to a flag. I pledge allegiance to a flag.
just to play devil's advocate, when you go to court and they say all rise, do you
All
remain
rise.
seated or for the
I
judge
mean,
or for the jury? Is it
sure, but that's different. I would
is this a
say
person,
giving
not
respect to
a piece of cloth?
someone who, see, even in my head, I can go, they went to academia, they had to pass a lot of tests, and they actually should know their stuff and be decent human beings doing their job, and so they earned it. Just like I was proud of when I, first heard doctor's degrees, people getting it for the first time. But I still think that's different than I don't know than actually
I wouldn't do it because only God can judge me.
only God can judge me.
No,
That's
There you
well,
right.
go.
no, I think there's a difference because you're basically acknowledging the authority of the judge in that situation.
Does
By
have
rising,
legal authority.
that's different. That's different from pledging to an abstract concept like a country. And
Sure.
at my school, we had to pledge to the Texas flag also, which is
Oh,
double weird.
it was in the classroom too, the Texas flag.
We had to say two separate pledges. Yeah.
Texas has that unusual history of also being a country too that most states don't have.
Yeah.
So maybe that plays into that too.
That's true. And I live in a city that was really important to the independence of Texas, which is San Antonio, and they had the Battle of the Alamo, where they defended it from the Mexican general Santa Anna and Davy Crockett and all that stuff.
I went to the
Um,
Alamo.
yeah, so there's a lot of rich history in the city that I live in. It's pretty
Absolutely.
cool.
And
Riverwalk
I
area.
was just in
Nice place.
Texas for DebateCon. I really have a lot of love for Austin.
Mm-hmm.
ACA, I think, is ever a lot of agnostic atheists gateway into debatehood.
Gateway
And
drug.
so sending love out there to the ACA.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for that invitation.
Oh, hey.
It's
I
coming,
think you would
AJ.
make a
It's
great host on there.
like Creflo Dollar said, you just have to have faith that it's in the mail. It's coming.
Yeah.
Like your check from God it's in the mail, man.
And
just
I'm gonna do
it's coming.
something special. We are gonna shout out our Patreons like we do always. And if you are a skeptic, it means you're gonna have to continue to wait in line. But I can't help it. Okay, we're gonna give you early entry. If you are a theist, a non, I guess a non-believer that disagrees with us, anyone that has a point of view that doesn't match with our own, because, well, we want to hear from you and convince us. Well, call me
God talks to
skeptical,
you.
and the link is going in the stream. But if you are a skeptic or a non-believer, or just on Team Science, then stick around, because once again, we are a skeptic channel, including the three schmucks that you see before you tonight. However, that's right, call me I did it again. Call Me Skeptical is specifically
She
looking
did
for
the
views that don't agree with our own. So if you fit the bill, the link to join is now in stream and will eventually be on screen. But we also love atheist, skeptics, science-minded people. So if you think the world is 6,000 years old, that evolution is a hoax, or that the world is flat,
You called the right
you
place.
better call us right away. And this housekeeping is sponsored by our Patreons at patreon.com/Amy Newman, including awesome Patreons like us from the News Round Table and Atheist Network.
Thanks, Oz.
Woo-hoo. Atheist Tang Gang, yo. And as well as Better is about to hit.
It's
So
coming
you
up,
better
yeah.
head over and get your tickets now, because, well, it turns out that non-believers do it #better.
That's what he said.
You know, when I was leaving Faithless Forum, when I was actually waiting for, when I was actually leaving the hotel, I ran into Oz and he told me about that conference. So I'm glad to see it's finally happening.
It is finally
Materialized. Was Oz? Was he as big as you imagined him, as he looks on camera in stature?
Well, I'm a pretty tall guy, so
Wow.
I mean, to me, I mean, yeah. The funny story though, at the after party, I saw he had snuck in a whole bottle of Crown Royal in his bag.
That sounds like Oz. Okay, great.
Sounds
That
like
just
a
made me
party.
laugh.
Okay.
There you go. Oz with the crown.
But yeah, sending love to Oz, sending love to youtube.com/The Atheist Network Group, where we can connect atheist agnostics because we don't have religious holy wars. Isn't it nice? As well as sending love to Ian the Lord.
Ian, thanks, Ian.
Ian sending love. That's right, because, well, it doesn't look like it was artificially designed. It looks like organs that were formed after billions of years, slowly but surely. Like James's favorite giraffe. It doesn't look like that was like their neck was designed. It looks like that was definitely out of necessity, driven by all the other animals not being able to
Wow.
leave under them.
Now, Shane, I thought that was a joke, but apparently you can go to the website jesusisamyth.com, and that will get you to better. That will get
Oh
you more tickets
my.
to better. Oz actually bought jesusisamyth.com because he's a badass like he is.
Well, I could not ask for a better transition than the one I had at 19, but we're going to bring on. We're going to bring on Chris. We have, I believe, someone who disagrees with us, which means we
Dropped
are
out.
calling me skeptical on has God ever
gone in.
spoken to you. We got AJ with us. Let's have some fun. Oh, Chris is gone.
He's gone.
Chris is
He's
back.
back.
It's like Jesus. We have a second coming. We are calling me skeptical. Woo-hoo! What is up, Chris?
Hello.
Hey, welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard. We are calling me skeptical, and tonight we want to know, has God ever spoken to you?
Yes.
Okay, that settles it.
All right,
Tell us
there we
more.
go,
Tell
ladies
us-
and
tell us
gentlemen. We
more.
That was an easy one. I'm glad I've solved all the mysteries. He has, yeah. Actually, he has.
Can I ask, when was the last time he spoke?
When was the most recent? You mean last, like most recent?
Hmm.
I'm actually not sure. So I couldn't say. I remember the first time more profoundly than I remember the most recent time, because the first time was surprising, of course, and so it was more. It stood out more than the most recent time.
Okay, then what was the original time like?
Tell us about that. Yeah.
The original time was between a day or a couple days. I don't remember exactly how long it was, but after I put faith in God, because I was not a believer, and it was funny because I didn't even know. I knew nothing, like next to nothing about God, so I didn't know He even spoke. I didn't know that was possible, so I didn't know it could happen. And I'm watching The Walking Dead. Have you ever seen the TV show The Walking Dead?
I have seen
Yeah.
decent
Yeah.
portions of it.
Yeah. So I was watching The Walking Dead with my wife and just enjoying the show. And there's a scene, I think it's the first episode, where there's like half a zombie lady and she's crawling on the ground, like she's got no legs. So she's like crawling on the ground and she's going to eat somebody. And so I'm just watching that and enjoying the show. And then it's the first time I hear God. God just says, "That was you," in reference to this zombie lady. And with that came the understanding of what he meant was like she's dead, but she doesn't know she's dead. Right? That's a zombie. A zombie's not someone who knows they're dead.
Right.
But she's just crawling through existence, devouring
Going
everything
through
and
the
never
motions.
satisfied. So that was kind of a picture. God gave that to me as a picture of me, that I was dead but didn't know I was dead, and I was just going through life and never satisfied. So that was kind of how he first talked to me. So it was really shocking because, like I said, I didn't know you could hear from God. I didn't know. I actually my thought of God was that, he kind of did whatever he did. Maybe kind of a deist thought was he kind of did what he did, and then just the world just went on today. So it was really startling to me in a sense, not frightening, but just surprising the first time that happened.
Was it a audible voice? Did you actually?
No, it
Or
wasn't
was
an
it-
audible. No, I didn't hear an audible voice, and I never have. So I can only
Okay.
speak for myself. I don't know if anyone has.
So nobody, your wife wouldn't have heard anything. Did she maybe sense anything that something was amiss?
I don't think she sensed anything at that time. Now, when I put my faith in God, she noticed something because it was a very bizarre experience for me, and so she noticed something right away.
So you were a non-believer, and
Yes. I would have identified as an atheist. I would use that term.
and what was it that brought you to faith? And how long before you heard from God?
So I was an atheist till the age of 33. And what happened was, so did you ask? I'm sorry. Did you ask how did I come to faith, or
Yeah,
sorry.
what brought you to Christianity? Yeah.
Yeah. So I was really active in theater, like musicals and plays and those kind of things. And
Mm-hmm.
I used to do quite a bit of theater in Chicago. And when I got married, I fell in love with my wife, and the theater culture was no longer something I was in. And so I hadn't done theater in a long time. And then there was auditions for a show where we had moved to. And so I talked to my wife. It was actually for Godspell. So if you've heard of it, it's based on the Gospel of Matthew. So I auditioned and I was in Godspell. I actually played Jesus. And so I'm an atheist playing Jesus. And I just remember reading through it and being like, God, my gosh, it was kind of my first real exposure to the Bible, other than some kind of things I knew as an atheist, that I kind of picked out. But it was funny. So I remember thinking, boy, this is ridiculous. I can't believe anyone would believe this, like even more so. And so I did the show, and then we got heavily involved in the theater. And at one of the cast parties, cast parties are like, I have to tell the Christians because they may think something different of parties, but it was a party, so people were drinking and doing other things. And a lady had kind of called me over to her after the party was nearing ending, and she said, I did something very bad. And I'm like, okay. She's like, I'm a bad person. I'm like, look, I'm just gonna laugh, like, okay. And then she told me something she had done that was really heinous. We'd all agree here it was heinous. And I didn't know what to do with the information. Like, I didn't know if I should go to the police and I've never been a big drinker. So I'm like, maybe she's just making something up because she's drunk, or maybe she's just telling me the truth because she's drunk. And so I was like losing sleep. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this information. So I went, I was driving. So I was thinking, several days, maybe probably over a week had passed. I'm not good with timelines, but where I just couldn't get this out of my head. And so finally I'm driving and a name pops in my head. It was the name of a pastor who was in one of the shows I had directed. And his name just popped in my head. So I went to go visit him and kind of told him what I told you now. And he said, well, can I pray for you? And I'm going, oh, here we go. And so he prays for me. And I feel immediately better, though, of course, I wouldn't consider that to be something from God, because in my mind, there was no God. And but I just felt like maybe I'd kind of, it's his problem now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I gave him the information, so now he can do with it. And so I felt better. And then what's funny is then he goes like, he goes, do you follow Jesus or something like that? And so I didn't want to deal with the conversation.
My
so I
yoga
just,
teacher.
What?
Oh, Jesus, my yoga teacher.
Jesus, yeah. Well, I just
I tailgate Jesus personally.
Exactly.
Good. Well, so I just told him yes. I go yes, and I think he kind of could tell that I was like a deer in the headlights and didn't want to talk about it. So he uh he takes out a piece of paper. It was so unbelievably um uh, kindergarten, and on one side he writes God, and the other side he writes man, and he goes, and God and man are separated, and then he
That's how they
draws
started writing the Bible.
yeah, and then he draws a cross between the two, and he goes, and the cross is the bridge between God and man. And I'm just sitting there thinking, gosh, this guy is dumb. Like I really was thinking that. I'm thinking, I wanted to I'd say to him, I said, his name is Mark. I go, Mark, do you have any crayons? Because we could color this together. I just couldn't believe the guy. And so my wife and I are leaving, and he invites us to church. And so I'm like, oh no, I knew that was going to happen. And so my wife and I talked about it, and we didn't like to have personal debt. You know what I mean by that? So not like bank debt, but like if you do me a favor, I feel like I have to do you a favor. Do you get what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yes.
And so
You feel
my wife and I-
obligated.
yeah. So my wife and I talked about it, and we're like, we'll go to church 4 times. Like I don't know where that number came to our head, but we'll go to church 4 times to pay off this debt to him. And so we go to church, and it was funny. It was really weird to me because I had been in church when I was a kid, like not many times, but several times, and I couldn't believe it because like I had been in Catholic church before, and so it was sit, stand, kneel, pray, those kind of things, and hear these people like they start singing the songs, and like their hands go up in the air, and I'm just laughing, and I'm like, I can't believe that these people have gotten even more crazy over the years because like I'd never seen anything like that, people raising their hands up, and
Like a evangelical type
yeah,
And,
just
and they can
just
talk in tongues. Well, nuka samnona kanoma kade.
yeah, no one was speaking in tongues. I wasn't actually exposed to that, but the people were clapping, and what was really funny to me. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You just lost your picture, but you don't. That's okay.
Okay.
We can still
Is
hear
that
you.
God?
That's
Oh,
that
oh,
that
I
that
thought
that
you
may
were
be
God.
God. No, that may
I
be
was
God
gonna say,
Oh, it's
this is
yeah,
what I
helping you
get for
guys
talking in tongues.
from too. Yeah. So what was funny is really funny, Amy, is they start singing about the blood of Jesus, and they had no idea how absolutely insane this is to someone who doesn't believe. Like
Can
I
I
go to
say, and I will say, the blood stuff, it does get me. That is, ask James.
the
That's
blood
very
magic. Yeah.
much an AJ. That's a focal point
yeah, like
because it's weird. Can I? And I will say, uh, uh,
Your wife never
the
talks to you right
human
now?
sacrifice, the blood. Um, there's a lot of language that I find uh, not happy.
yeah, it was. Well, I thought the song was like something like "Nothing But the Blood," I think it's called, and they were actually singing like "I'm covered in the blood" or "Covered by the blood of Jesus."
Oh.
And so when I went home, I pulled up, the famous picture of the movie Carrie,
Yes.
where she's covered in blood, and I'm like, they had a big projection, where they showed the picture, like the lyrics to the song or whatever on the screen, and I remember thinking like they should put up that picture while they're playing the song so they can see what they're singing about being covered in blood. uh, I'm like, that would be a great thing to show during that song. Anyway, so we go and I'm making fun of people, and I the pastor, the problem was not the problem, but the pastor was making a lot of sense when he spoke, which didn't mean anything to me because I used to qualify pastors in one of two camps. One was someone who actually believed this stuff, and so they were just an idiot, or someone who didn't really believe this stuff, but they just thought it was a convenient way to make money, and so they were a con man. So I
Well, I
determined
think
this.
you can definitely mine wisdom from the Bible. I would just say that the fact that you can also mine a lot of horrible things means that it
Even
evens out, and then it just kind of looks like a book made by
once in a
humans.
while, a pastor will say something that has a nugget of wisdom or truth in it.
Yeah,
It's just what it's sandwiched around.
yeah. I just had this caricature idea of either you're a dummy and you believe it, or a con man and you don't, and so I kind of determined the pastor was a con
So
man. But so the question is again, how did I come to faith? So our 4th week, we decided, my wife and I had talked about before we went, and we weren't getting anything out of it. We weren't believers, and there was no reason to keep going. So we decided we're going to stop going. But at that morning, and this is kind of we're living in a smaller area, so this is a mega church for our area. They'd run about 1,000 would come in. So no one knew us. No one knew us, knew that we were going to come, that we were going to stop going or anything. But he approached us that morning. And he asked us to come to a class in the evening, and we tried not to. I'm like, no, we have too many kids, and we have no childcare. He's like, well, we have childcare, and I'm like, no, well, my wife and I said, well, think about it. And then he kind of looked me over, and as you saw when my picture was available, I'm a bigger guy, and he's like, we have free homemade spaghetti. and I tell you, he looked at me like he nailed me. He knew it. And so anyway, we go to this thing, and it was so boring. I can't tell you. They were using an old projector. Like, when I say projector, I mean, you remember when the teacher, whoever used to write on the clear sheet, the transparency,
Yes.
and it projected
Yes.
on the wall? Okay. So they're like using an old projector, and it's just boring.
Like middle school science class,
yeah. Yeah. And I don't even know what he's talking about because it was so boring. But through the process, and he's not preaching, he's actually talking about the history of their church. So it was incredibly boring. But he says something to the effect of someone who's never sought God. Like he wasn't preaching again. It just was something he was saying in passing. And for whatever reason, that stuck in my head. So it was like, never sought God. I'm like, that's interesting. And so I go home, and I'm just thinking that. So like what the lady had said before was stuck in my head. This was stuck in my head. And I'm just like, what does it look like to seek God? Like, I had no idea. So I'm like, well, I went up, my wife was like downstairs doing something with the kids, and I went up to the side of the bed. I'm like, I guess you get on your knees, like, I guess that's what you do. And then I did one of the, like the sign of the cross thing, like the Catholics will do, like Father, Son, and Holy Spirit across your head and chest. So I'm like, I guess you do that. So I did that thing. And then I'm like, you pray, right? So I prayed. I'm like, God, I don't know if you exist, but if you reveal yourself to me, I'll follow you. And I was serious. It was interesting because I was really sincere. Like, in my mind, God didn't exist. So I'd always take that position. God does not exist. There's not evidence for God, but I would have said God does not exist. And so all I can say is when I prayed that, it was like a nuclear bomb going off. That's the only way I can describe it for me, right? Like, it was just something. I didn't have a vision. I didn't hear a voice. Nothing like that happened. It was something like, it's really hard for me to articulate. So I just say it was like a nuclear bomb going off because something happened that changed me. And so I can give a cliche statement. I went down on my knees, one man, and I stood up, and I was a completely new man. And like everything was different to me. So it was weird. Like I stood up and I hear birds chirping, which of course I'd heard thousands of times. I probably didn't even pay any more attention to them, but I hear them chirping, but it was like they were brand new. Like it was just new. And so I'm like, that's interesting. So I look outside my window and I see a tree, and the tree was like new. I don't know how to describe it. It was like I was seeing everything for the first time.
And then
And
you
so-
said,
You triggered it. Look
What?
At no, we need to look at the trees.
That is
No,
new. Yeah.
Let's look at the trees together.
So everything was new to me. So I'm like freaking out, and I'm like, well, how do I tell my wife what's going on? And so I went and we had this couple's devotional Bible.
And Chris, I heart you. In a second, we need to go. I have so many questions, and we need.
Okay, sorry. Yep, I could stop there.
Well,
Can
yeah.
Can
I
I make
mean-
a comment?
Oh, you can make.
sure,
I
AJ.
have many. So AJ, you go first.
Okay.
What question?
So
No.
I've read. I'm not trying to discount what you just said. I'm somebody who likes to try and find a rational explanation for things. And I've read
Sure.
some articles that talk about studies they've done where intensely religious experiences stimulate this is their finding, that it stimulates the same part of the brain that is activated during drug use, gambling, and sex, and causes a lot of dopamine releases. They've studied people, they've given them MRIs to religious people and had them pray, and this is what they found. So when I hear stories like this, I wonder, because it feel like when I hear somebody say that when I sing in the church choir, I feel like I'm closer to God. I can understand how that would feel good and how they could think that. But to me, that's just what I find kind of interesting. I don't know if those two things are actually linked, but if I had to try and explain it, that's where I would start.
Well, yeah, what you're stating is, I would say, true, and to some degree obvious, right? Because we live in a physical world, and so there's going to be a physical response to everything, even if they're quote unquote supernatural. Um, there's going to be a physical response, and so absolutely, that's exactly what I would say. Is it's like drugs, right? Like dopamine, serotonin. I'm not educated enough to really say what, but certainly, I mean, you're absolutely right. And so whatever it was, that was my experience. Um, and so what was interesting is when I opened up that Bible that I literally never opened, someone gave it to us as a wedding gift, and so that was the only reason we still had it, because otherwise we would have thrown it out. But I opened it up, and yeah, a little different one than you have there, Amy. But it was a couple's devotional thing. So, but I opened it right up and to Jesus saying, "Unless one is born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God." And so for me, that was really interesting too, because I was trying to fit the literal thought I had in my head was, how do I explain to my wife, what words can I possibly use to what I've just experienced? Because I had no idea, and I did not know the Bible well. And so it was just funny to me. I'm like, wow, the first thing I would do is these words that say born again. And like, I'm like, that's exactly the way I would explain what I just experienced, because everything, it was like I was a baby. It was like I was living in a new world. So it was really interesting.
Have you
Right,
seen
now
the
you're in
movie
the hot
Honey?
seat.
I can.
Have you ever- Have you ever seen the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
A long time ago.
Okay, go ahead, Amy.
Well, it's just, and we normally, it's funny that a lot of times we would do our speeches for so long, and it would take forever, and we wouldn't get people on. But one of my big, like, pet peeves, especially with this concept, is I have met few people who have ever like said, God has said something audible to me. Like, it's always God works in mysterious ways, and yet it's life-changing decisions. It's things that alter our behavior sometimes for the rest of our lives. And it just baffles me that no one's actually spoken to God. Like,
Well,
you had what I would call an ego death. You had something where you had a transformative experience, but it wasn't like God in this book, and this is a version of the King James version. He was talking to people audibly throughout this whole story, and yet he seemed to have gone. He seems to have dissipated.
Well, yeah, that was how he came to faith. He did say he did hear God talk to him.
Well, but
Yeah,
what,
I must have missed
honestly,
that part because my connection dropped out for a second, but I thought the story was supposed to be getting to when did God talk to me, not how did I join the church.
Well, I asked him how he came to
Okay.
faith, but he
I
did
think I missed
say,
that part.
yeah.
yeah. So again, really quickly about the audible thing. First of all, listen, if we don't believe the Bible, it's all moot, right? But if we do, it would seem in the Bible God speaks to very, very few people audibly. So that's a rare occurrence, number one. But number two, if you and I, Amy, if we could speak another way, let's just, for lack of a better term, say psychically, like
Mhm.
you and I could just talk mind to mind, that might be a preferred way. And
You think
so
you
I
can't?
think
Oh,
I can't. I personally can't. I've never met a psychic who could. I'm a huge skeptic. I'm a big James Randi fan. So my other skeptics who are fans of James Randi,
Oh,
like I said,
absolutely.
I wasn't someone.
James is puzzled that I think that you're such a big James Randi fan, but we're glad to have you at least
hey,
claiming the skeptic label.
the
Oh,
monster.
I still love debunking psychics and ghost hunters and all those things. And so I've
Yeah,
been a
because
skeptic all my
Christianity
life.
would say those should be debunked too, right? Because they're not real, right? Because
Well, yeah,
Christianity is real.
but again, I lumped them all together. So I wouldn't have believed in God, but I also didn't believe in ghosts or psychics or, I could do psychic cold readings, but they're not psychic cold readings. It's just be playing mind games. It's just a,
But
Sure.
you also said if you didn't believe the Bible, can I ask, when you had this experience, did you believe the Bible was true?
I came to believe it was true through study. I didn't instantaneously because I didn't even understand. So when I had this experience with God, let's say, right, for lack of a better word, it I didn't know anything. I knew, like I said, I could have articulated some things, and I knew um, some bullet points that were contradictions, etc. But I didn't really know it. And so I actually I was trying to short speak, even though I talked way too long, my my experience in the church. But one of the things I did right away was start to look through different scriptures and stuff to so I could challenge the pastor of the church. Um, but again, as I really read through it, and I did start with the New Testament, um, it
Oh, interesting.
it
Why did you start with the New Testament? You would think that you would start with the classic.
yeah, I just didn't. Again, I don't know why, because when I first just opened up the Bible randomly, it was in the book of John.
It's
And
like skipping
so,
foreplay.
I
yeah,
know,
it
right?
did. I know.
Right
I
to the
know.
meat and potatoes.
I know. I know. My wife likes to spoon, but I like to fork. So I
Yeah.
went right for the I went right for the meat. That's just what I did. But again, so as I looked through it, it lined up with the way I saw reality, and it was speaking to me in a way that even the bits and pieces. So, like I said, what was another interesting I realized is after I
Well, well, before you say at another, can you give me an example of something that it matched up with reality?
well, sure, plenty of things, but
The
I'll
best one.
say
But I'll take one.
sure. I'll say one that the truth will set you free. And so for me, this had a real profound meaning because one of the things I really struggled with. So I thought Christianity was a crutch for the weak or something for the simple-minded, and I was not a drinker, smoker. I didn't really cuss. I was faithful to my wife, and so I thought you don't need Christianity. But I will tell you this: I was definitely a liar, and when I put my faith in God, I remember one thing that was very bizarre to me is I felt free from the jail of lies. Now, I never saw jail lies as being a jail before. I always saw them as a useful tool. Matter of fact, I thought lies are mutually beneficial, right? If my mother, let's say, because she was one I'd lied to as a kid quite a bit, if my mother thought I was doing something wrong, and I was doing something wrong, well, she would feel better to believe I didn't, and I would do better for her to believe I didn't, and therefore I thought a lie was a good thing.
But can I
Um,
freeze frame you just for one
sure.
second? And then I want to read a super chat. Are you saying that you lied and that you believed in God and you stopped lying? Because I would like to point you to a book by Sam Harris called Lying, in which he argues that you should not lie ever, even white lies. That really is the premise of the book, that almost all lies hurt. So,
Well, I would
I,
agree with
I
him. I would agree with him. That just wasn't my perspective.
I
And
would
I'm not
disagree with
saying
that.
Well,
I'm not saying
I'm not even sure if I agree with Sam Harris either. It's an interesting book. My point would just be, really, the question is, are you saying that you had a problem lying, like, consistently, and then you believed in God, and then not lying?
yes.
I'm hearing a contradiction here because you're saying that Christianity matched up with what you believed before or or what you were doing before, but then you're saying that you were a liar and that Christianity helped you turn to somebody who's was freed from lying and started telling the truth. That seems like
If that
the
was like
opposite.
one thing he struggled with, yeah.
No, I'm saying that Christianity lined up with the worldview that suddenly claimed me when I put my faith in God. So I'm not saying that Christianity lined up the worldview previously, though certainly there are things that do. But I'm saying it was like it opened up my eyes to something new, and that made much more sense than to what I was living.
Speaking of which,
Super
sending
chat,
love,
yeah.
and I see everyone's comments out there. Also, I want to get to them in a second. Sending so much love to the chat out there, and sending love to Pat Lowinger.
Thanks, Pat.
Saying, okay, why not Judaism, Hinduism, or Buddhism?
Is that a question to me?
I do believe
I
so.
believe so, yeah.
Okay. Well, I can't speak for all of those faith systems because I don't know enough about them to really. I mean, I know a little.
That's because you skipped the Old Testament.
Yeah, there you go. It's because if I'd started there, I'd be a Jew and throw the rest out. But it's
Hey,
simply
just throw those. But honestly, when you look at the Ten Commandments, almost all of them can be tossed aside. Basically, one or two
There's maybe
are law.
3.
well,
But
that appears to be, Jesus didn't toss them aside, but what did he do? He simplifies them to love your neighbor and love God, right? So that's kind of what
That
Jesus
whole death
does.
penalty for Sabbath breaking, don't need to do that.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Reading through that Old Testament, I'd be dead 100 times over. So I'm really thankful.
And honestly, I am just glad that God doesn't seem to, well, be real. But we're getting another $2 super chat from Pat, sending so much love. Also, you can find Pat at youtube.com/BiddyBuddha_. This guy was fantastic and wonderful. That's right, you should learn some shit. But Pat says, so Christianity being culturally affirming equal faith? And that I do believe that is for you again, Chris.
Okay. No, I mean, we were just talking about one view there that, again, I've had many experiences. We're talking about it, early when I came to faith and then how I started to believe in the Bible. But that's not simply it. I mean, that would be to make a caricature out of it. That's not simply all I've experienced or what I've done, but that's, for the sake of what we're talking about here today.
I do think that makes sense.
Coming in chat for you. Sent in love, Pat. I'll get to everyone's comments. I'll start looking back. But
we'll try.
I am sending love to you, Chris, for even coming into the Lion's Den with us. Sending love also, Nick. This is our call-in show, so we are actually, it's our extra guest host on, but you can actually join us if you would like after we get John in, and then, another one, sending so much, also sending love to Disciple Day to say, be blessed. Look.
That's me, by the way.
Oh, is that you?
Oh, is that you? Oh,
it is.
thank you.
Thank you so very much.
That's okay.
Have you
sent you some
been
before to
watching
help
the
get new
show
sound
for-
equipment, remember? So I like helping you guys out.
Woo-hoo.
Oh, thank you. How long have you been watching the show?
Probably. So you guys may not have made the connection, but you one time you gave me a hard time, but my feelings are okay. You called me Dr. Stuff. So you remember that? Dr. Stuff. So I'm Dr. Stuff.
Oh,
yes.
The debate. We reviewed your video.
That's right. You shredded me.
Which video was that, Amy? Which video was that?
Wonderfully fun.
It wasn't too long ago.
No, it wasn't too long ago.
What video was that?
We're sending so much love.
What video was that, Chris?
Yet small YouTube
I think it was
community.
The Absurdity of Atheism. I actually don't remember what it's called because it's not.
Oh wow!
It's not like my channel.
Wow.
it's somebody else put that up there. I don't even like putting things up on YouTube, really, to
The
be honest.
absurdity of atheism.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
It's driving me crazy. And also, we are going to just shout out his name. It is Aunt Hovind for a $5
Name.
super chat, sending so much love to Beamsy. Woo! We just love people that go after any Aunt Hovins out there. And Gizmo saying hi too. But yeah, we got about, I would say, 10 more minutes, Chris, and then I
If
Yeah,
you
but
want
it's your show. Kick me off whenever you want.
If
no,
there's
no,
any
you
questions
see,
from the chat,
we
Andy,
are always excited to
there's
have
any-
people that actually disagree,
it's amazing.
because we joke that sometimes we give theists too much time, so they don't want to come on, because then they
I
have
like
to
to
defend
say
their views.
we give them enough rope.
There you
They
go.
decide what they do with it.
I'll hang myself in no time. It's fine.
I have a question for you. What do you think about the notion of scapegoats? It's another one of my pet peeves. It's a side thing, but just the notion of killing a dude so that the bad things that you, other people have done can get, can get away with, in essence. Or you have to mean it. I know that's the clause. You have to really mean it, but
well, let me start by saying I don't want to be that dude. So I'm glad,
No.
I'm not the dude. But so I kind of viewed it from another angle. So one thing that was interesting is when I'll use the term became a Christian. I guess it's the best way to put it, right? I had so many questions for God because I knew nothing. So I just kept asking him. And I remember, again, I knew so little. Like, I remember thinking, God, am I bothering you? And I actually prayed, God, I think I'm bothering you with all these questions. But I think, listen, if I understand the biblical narrative correctly, it's the idea that if we're going to be judged against perfection and can never reach perfection, perfection itself has to die. Right? That's the only.
Can I pause you?
Sure.
Because you hit across another one of. I have a lot of Foley sound effects, a lot of boom. But another pet peeve of mine is this notion. Now, I made a joke about the falling. Continue. It'll come back to me. I made a joke.
No, it's
and I lost it.
yeah. I was just so it's the idea of perfection being
Thank
broken.
you. There you go. Perfection.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I don't mean to. But this notion that I have another running joke that is, okay, look, if we were just killing a guy, this would be horrible. But you don't understand. It's not that we're killing a guy. We are killing someone who is perfect. And I don't understand the logic behind, like, help me. Why is killing a guy that was super, super, super good, why does that make it somehow better, logical, reasonable? Help me, help.
Help her, help
Yes.
you. Help her, help you.
Help her, help me. So the question is,
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure I understood the question. The question is, how does killing someone perfect help me? Is that what you're saying?
Well, because what I normally get when I ask, why does killing a guy, why does it undo? I don't believe in sinning, but colloquially, sinning in nowadays just means doing bad stuff. So why does killing a guy, not only killing a guy, why does killing a guy who's perfect, why does that undo all of our bad deeds?
Well, I come at it from possibly a different angle of thinking than that.
Okay.
So I'm a father. I have kids, and let's say my child died willingly for someone else. Okay, just irrelevant who, but died, and that was my child's legacy. He died for this person, so that I would forgive them. Let's say whatever it was that happened. I don't forgive them out of anything they have done. I forgive them out of the love for my son, who was willing to die for them. So it's actually an extension of my love for my son, and I love my kids that way. Now I don't want my kids to die. Let's not turn that into something I'm not saying. But certainly, if my son were willing to die for someone, and that was his desire, that I would forgive them, um, I would do that because I love my son.
Well, can I? I wanted to say something. I think Amy was talking more about somebody being killed, not necessarily dying for somebody else. But Amy, I could give you like the biblical answer to your question. Obviously, I don't necessarily agree
Sure.
with that. But in the Bible, God says that the wages of sin is death. That for punishment for a sin is death. And in the Old Testament, they would, as you know, they would create the tabernacle and they would sacrifice animals. Well,
Horrible
when
cat.
Jesus was sacrificed, because he lived a life free of sin, because he was perfect, he was the perfect sacrifice. And now, because that's been done, that's why we no longer have to sacrifice goats on altars, because Jesus took care of that for us, and that paid for that the wages of all of our sins because he was perfect. So I would think that would be
That is the
So
textbook
the
answer.
official answer.
that sounds like a fantastic steel man of their beliefs. I still just don't get human sacrifice, and that's what or God sacrifice or whatever.
Well, you get human sacrifice in the sense of you certainly understand one person laying down their life for another, right? You would understand that sort of human sacrifice.
So
In
I
other
would
words, if I
understand
were willing
someone
to
laying
die for
down
my
for a
son,
cause or to
well,
protect your
for a
son or
person,
something. Sure.
yeah, sure.
Have you ever heard the saying that he sacrificed himself to act as a loophole to get around rules that he himself created? Have you ever
Yes,
heard that?
yeah. Remember,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
But
There you
that's
go.
just,
Amy,
I mean, that's just that. I mean, again, that's making a complete caricature out of the reality of what's the narrative, right? Um, it is, and again, what happens is sometimes I think we basically we meaning maybe someone who doesn't believe the Bible, right? Doesn't believe the Bible, right? And so but then they'll pull out narratives, pull out things from the Bible and say this makes no sense. Well, it doesn't make sense if you don't believe the rest of it. Like, so if you pull it out, it's like the obvious of like, how can God be good, right? And then you have the Christian on the other going, well, the Bible says he's good, and it's like, well, you're just going to believe he's good because the Bible says he's good. It's like, no, you're misunderstanding the point there, because if you're getting that God's bad from the Bible, you're like, because in the Bible it says he does this. Well, then you can't just throw out the parts in the Bible that show God is good, right? So you take it as a whole, and so it I think a lot of times we get to this where we're kind of taking out pieces and then making these caricatures, and we do this in atheism too. I mean, when me as a Christian or someone is picking on a non-believer, we can do the same thing,
I don't
right?
think anybody would say that any person is all good or all bad. I mean, we all have that good and bad aspects of our personality. I think in terms of God, where you're claiming he's either all good or maximally good. So you just have to find one instance of him not being good, and that kind of invalidates the whole premise that he is all good or maximally good. Because if there's a situation where I, as a fallible mortal human, can be better than God, I can do something God can't, like forgive somebody who does wrong to me without requiring a blood sacrifice, then I've done something that God can't. So it kind of it takes a shot at the nature of
But of
God.
course, James, that requires an insistence that your morality or your understanding is better than his. It requires that belief. In other words, if you accept that God is the ultimate moral being and moral judge, you accept that. And so to say, well, he's not because I get to choose. Well, of course, then I mean, it just takes the whole point and destroys it.
So if you presuppose that he is all good from the start, and you look at everything he does within that, which is how Christians operate, they say, well, I mean, he must have had a reason for it. I don't understand all the things he did, but maybe when I get to heaven, he'll explain it to me, and I'll guess then I'll see that it was the right thing to do.
No, I think that's making. I think that's again making a caricature of it. Um, you know, it's. Listen, if we were to create creatures, right? So we create. We don't yet. We might, of course. We don't really create full biological humans from nothing, whatever. But we do create robots, right? We can, and we have create artificial intelligence, and so what you're saying is the artificial intelligence, the robots we create, their morality would be superior to ours when we are the creator beings who decide what is right and wrong for that being. So it's just taking, it just doesn't really line up to me
And
sensibly.
I just want to say, 'cause this is actually very much my subject of interest, at least,
Absolutely.
that I think that one day there will be artificial conscious and sentient creatures that have a morality like us.
I do
I would
too.
just say, me being a moral relativist, I don't think there's an objective or absolute morality. So if we create other beings and they come up with a morality that's different than ours, that's just their subjective opinion, and our morality is just our subjective opinion.
What
And
if
there's
what
no
if
real objective way to say, oh, ours is superior to them because we created them. Well, they
would that
disagree.
would that be your position if they decided our morality is kill all humans? Or would
Well,
your
like I
would
said,
your
I
would
don't think
your
that would be, from my subjective position, that would not be moral. But again, that's to
There
be
are
a
people who
true
think
moral
like that.
relativist.
so would
To
it
be
be
a true moral relativist, you have to say that there is nothing that makes my opinion on that subjectively better than theirs. I wouldn't let them do it, but
yeah, it again, it's really, I mean, I'm not sure you're really thinking through that fully. um it's just it's like putting morality into the digital world, right? It's like playing the Sims, and your sim decides it's going to go do its own thing, and you're like, well, it would be evil of me to go and redirect the sim or kill the sim, or it's like, uh you know it
Uh,
is subjecting God to human morality and human understanding. Again, that's fine. I used to do that. I mean, I don't, but it just doesn't seem to make sense in any way I look downward. Like, it's hard for me to look upward and imagine what God might be like, right? But it's not too hard for me to look down upon the worlds I'm God of,
So it
like a
sounds
digital
like
world I create.
AJ was about to say something, but then I just want to ask 3 questions and I'll let you say a final word, Chris, and then we're going to thank a few
sounds
more
good.
Patreons and bring John in. Um, but AJ, were you about to say something?
yeah, I have to go as well, but I just wanted to maybe make a
Oh,
couple of comments before I go. Um,
Absolutely.
I guess circling back to Amy's original question really quick. I don't I'm not sure if I would call it a nitpick, but the people who killed Jesus, I don't think that they thought he was perfect, but I think the Roman soldiers or citizens who wanted Jesus to die thought that he was claiming to be God and that he was above Caesar, and that's why they killed him. I don't think that they thought he was perfect. So maybe I'm confused about your question, but I was just wanted to make that comment. And as for as the topic of like you can't judge God's morality by human standards, well, those are the only standards that we have when it
yeah.
comes to making these type of, it's not even a judgment, it's just an observation. And the Old Testament seems on my human scale to be full of sections where God commits unnecessary amounts of violence. That's where I'm troubled because
Unnecessary brutality.
yeah, and showing favoritism for certain tribes and white, saying, telling, like First Samuel 15, punishing somebody because they didn't fully commit a genocide. They forgot some of the animals, and they didn't kill everyone. Stuff like that. And I'm
I
not
see
saying that
too.
our morality would be better than than God. But and it's not a judgment. It's just asking why the amounts of unnecessary violence. That's
Yeah.
I think what's troubling about the Old Testament to me.
Yeah, well, listen, I don't like violence. I certainly am not a fan of violence. But again, it's just this. Listen, when I use the word faith, I don't use it in the sense of like believe in God blindly or have faith that God exists. I would use it as a thing to trust God that even when things don't make sense. And no, I'm not making a claim God works in mysterious ways. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, in fact, is that understand the position we're stating when we say he's God. We're not saying like he's Superman, so he's like a human being with supernatural powers. He's God. He created the whole darn
Wait,
thing.
can I just pause for one thing? Can I
Yeah.
ask, is Jesus a man?
Yes.
Is he a super being?
Is he a super being? You'd have to define that. But if you were going to say, is he also God? I'd say yes.
How about this? Is he a being that is supernatural?
He possesses supernatural ability when he was on Earth.
A
Yes.
little bit like a Superman. A little bit. A little bit.
No, because no, I think again, I don't think that's at all because Superman had nothing to do with the creation of the universe. So again,
Well, and can I say, I just find creation of the universe just one attribute of like a superpower. I know that theists see it as like the ultimate superpower, but I just see creating universes as just like its own thing.
yeah, I get
Um,
it, but I can't think of something. Not that there isn't, but I just can't think of it off the top of my head. Something that I would create, and then I wouldn't have the authority to destroy.
well, can I ask? And I hate to go into politics. What are you, I just have to. When you say statements like that, what are your views on abortion? Just to
What
do
are
you
my
have the
views?
same? Do you have
What
the
are my
same views? Yes.
on abortion?
Yes, like if you create it, you have a right to destroy it.
Well, one, I don't believe that's what I would call creation, but two, I don't really. I'm not someone who stands on any platform for or against abortion.
Okay.
So I
mean,
mean,
I'll
I
leave that.
believe the Bible says that we're to love the person who is considering the abortion. We're to love the baby who's born. I mean, I just um, so I
It's
don't.
just not part of your ministry. It's not
Well,
something you're
when someone's
active
considering
on.
an abortion, it's not my. I don't believe it's my biblical duty to convince them not to. It's my biblical duty to share with them a God who loves them. So I think anyone who goes onto those platforms is replacing mission that Christ called us to be on with a cause.
Well, it leads me to just a question, and I guess I'll weave it in because I have my three questions, and I want to ask the one that Pat originally asked. But I have a game. I got it from Pine Creek, who is he's a conservative atheist. And he has this very simple game, which is poof or drown. And so God comes to you and he says, look, I have to do the whole get rid of everybody thing again. Not you. You're great. In fact, you're so great that I need you to make this decision for me. Have two ways in which I could get rid of everyone on Earth. You could either A, poof, everyone out of existence, or B, let's just call it the classic model, you could drown everyone. Which would you go for?
Would I poo? Well, first of all, I'd question a God who asks me. He must not know me very well to if he thinks I'd be able to make a sound decision here.
But he's
Um,
doing so anyway.
but he's doing so anyway. Would I poof everyone out of existence? Um,
Jesus take the wheel, but Jesus is a little tipsy, so you know we don't know where he's steering us to. But anyway,
Yeah, I mean, I really honestly don't know how to answer that question. I understand the implication you're trying to get to, which is poofing seems less cruel, right? But what is
A little
poofing?
bit.
You know, but how do you know?
Just taking them out of existence. Just
Yeah, just
they just don't
The
exist
Thanos
anymore.
model
just
of elimination.
just wiping out their existence. Yeah, I don't. Again, I really don't understand. You know, I don't think you've read through the full narrative there,
Can
right? So
I
one,
say, can I just pause you
yeah,
for 1 second?
sure.
It does sound politician-ish when because I'll give you an answer that doesn't sound like a politician, and then I'll hand it right back over to you. I'd pick poof because drowning people would die and they would suffer and their throats would fill with water and
Feel
there'd be many if
long
not
term,
seconds but minutes of
yeah,
suffering right
anxiety and
before they
mental
died,
anguish.
and poofing would just be poop. And okay, I'm gonna hand it right back over to you. There's really no difference here if a god came. Poof.
No, I'm not saying there's no difference. I'm saying, but you're asking for me as a human to a human perspective. You see what I'm saying? It's certainly as a human being speaking from my perspective, but God is not coming from a human perspective. So the question doesn't make sense. Yes, if as a human being, you know, that's what I want for myself. I'd rather be poofed than to be drowned. But you know, the question it just doesn't make sense because it wasn't up to a human being. It's up to God. And so, and again, remember the narrative is that everyone was wicked. All their thoughts were evil all the time. So it is, I mean, the real key element of the story is missing. But again, yes, human to human, I would choose poofing, but that doesn't mean I'm right. That doesn't make me
I
right.
think you are.
Well, I appreciate that, but again, it's just a very confusing way to look at things. Is to say, here's how we would do it as humans. Therefore, God must do it that way, or He's at fault. It's like, well, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I mean,
Well,
that doesn't. It just doesn't. It doesn't make any sense to say God would have to be subjective to the way we feel about things, or He can't be God, or He can't be good. That
are you
doesn't make
familiar with a
sense.
guy named Ken Hovind? Are you familiar with him at all?
He's a bit weird, but yeah, I'm familiar with him. He's about as funny as the Banana Man to me.
Oh man, he tries to get those dad jokes
'Cause
out there.
he's got a little, I don't know if it's a syllogism, axiom, or he's got an argument that says, well, you know, God could have just done that. He could have got rid of everybody, but He did the flood. That way it will leave evidence. So that way we can look back and
How
How
does he
see
can
know
the
I?
that?
flood.
How
Yeah,
does he know that? I have no idea how he would know such a thing.
He's just pontificating, but that's
Yeah.
his that's
I mean,
his answer to that is God
that's
had to do the flood, so leave evidence so we could all look back and look at what God did to those bad people.
yeah. I by the way, just see it as something like I'm not a new Christian. I didn't say that. So I was a new Christian when I gave my life years ago, 13 years ago. So I'm not a new Christian, but again, it's if we're gonna if we're gonna say here's how we would operate, and therefore if God doesn't operate like us, but that doesn't make sense. I mean that again, I mean I just feel like there's a connection missing that we're talking about God. Like, I mean, it's
Right.
literally like me saying to you, James, anything you make on your computer, you're subject to its reasoning. It's like, what? That doesn't make sense. You would never. That's never. It just doesn't make any sense. And so
He did say we're made in His nature, so we do have partial
I'm
understanding
not
of
saying
His
you
nature.
can't make sense, or we couldn't even be having this discussion, right?
Sure.
I'm not saying you can't make sense, but I'm saying putting God in that position doesn't make sense. It literally is just, to me, again, I'm not saying you have to subscribe. It's contradictory in its very core. I mean, it's just like, well, if God does this, He's evil. It's like, well, all right. I mean, that's fine. Yeah, if God were a human and He were acting as a human and doing that to another human, you can make that claim. But the claim of the Bible isn't that God's a human. It's that He's the creator of everything.
and
So
so, oh well, I'm actually because I feel bad. John's been waiting patiently. I'm gonna just very quickly. I'm gonna try and get this out. And I got question: why would God create beings that would view his actions as cruel, and we could come to a better choice.
Are you asking me to answer that?
If you want.
Sure. Again, come to a better choice, I would think, is subjective, right? What's the better choice? But why would humans think it's cruel? Well, because human beings, like every other creature, don't like to suffer, don't like pain. I don't like pain. I don't like to suffer. And so
Speak for
certainly,
yourself. Not everybody.
well, I'm not talking about kinks or fetishes or things like that,
There
maybe.
you go.
And that's, and that's really another form of pleasure. But again, it is,
It's important on this channel just to put that out there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So again, the question was, why would God create us to think this? Well, he's really asking, why would God allow us to think independently, right? Because I mean, that's the question. Why would God allow us to think independently? Well, I don't know, but certainly we want to create machines ourselves that think independently. That's what we're pursuing to do. And so to ask why would God do it seems to be a silly question, because we ourselves do it. That's what artificial intelligence is, right? Is something that has the ability to think independently, even though perhaps we might never be able to achieve it because it is first programmed by us, which is an interesting thought, right? Anything that comes up with new intelligence will be something that started through our intelligence.
Well,
But again,
that's also a heads you win, because we sometimes get from creationists, they say, well, they'll say that you never can create synthetic life, and then they'll say, or consciousness, then they'll say, once you do that, well, that just shows that you need a creator. But I would say it all arose naturally first. But I only have two more. I'm going to ask Pat's and then mine, and then I'll let you have your final word. Pat just wants to know, from way back when uh, uh, you were claiming to be an atheist, what would have been your definition of atheist? Then, now, what is your definition of atheist?
well, I would have been an atheist who took the position there is no God. So that was my
Hard
definition at
atheist.
the
You
time.
were a hard
Sure.
atheist.
So I would tell people I was an atheist. I wasn't an in your faithist. So I'll use the term in your faithist to be, I didn't go out and try and find Christians and challenge them. However, I certainly had no problem if a Christian came to me. Matter of fact, I used to take pride in several Christians I had at least weakened their faith. Um,
That's
and
what we're trying
so
to do
We
here.
aim to do here. Yeah.
yeah, so I would say I had some success at that. Um, so to answer the question, I was an atheist who believed there was no God. Like I said, it went along with every belief I have. Like there are no ghosts. I've never seen any real solid evidence for aliens or intelligent alien life. I'll say I've never believed in psychic powers, any of those things, and so God was another thing that went into that category.
And then, speaking of which, the last question. What would it take to change your mind?
On what?
So I would say that there is a God, or there is a Christian God, or that, to be on topic, that God has ever spoken to you.
What would it take to change my mind that God has ever spoken to me?
Yes, as in, I, uh, let's just say the hosts are naturally skeptical. We like to think that we are merchants of doubt. And
Mhm.
so that really is my ultimate question, would be, what would it take for you to go, give me a number, right, from 0 to 100%. How convinced are you that the Christian God is real and that has spoken to you?
99%.
99. You know what? Already we're off better than because the 100% is what kills me a little bit. And okay, what would it take to uh, take a chunk out of that 99% to seriously uh, take it down?
Um, it would take strong evidence to the contrary at this point, because just like as an atheist, I might say, you have to prove God exists, right? because you're making the positive claim in that sense, right? So, to me, you'd have to prove that my experience, which don't just end there, but I would make the claim that I've seen miracles, and I don't use the term lightly. I get frustrated when Christians use the term lightly. So, that would have to be explained. The dramatic changes in me that happened overnight and from a point of non-belief would have to be explained. So there'd be a lot that needed to be explained, but I'm open to it. I'm here now. I'm not here now to convince anyone, because I don't believe it really works that way. I'm not here to convince anyone to become a Christian. I'm here because I'm so firmly convinced of this, but I just have a love for the truth. I do. Again, and that happened to me. Yes, I understand I used to be a liar and all that, but that's not the same as having a love for the truth. And I'm naturally inquisitive and curious. And so I just like to learn things. I'm a slow learner. I'll grant you that. I'm not necessarily the quickest learner or the brightest guy, but I really enjoy learning. And I also, can I say one more thing? I really love people. I love people. I just can't help myself. And I find everyone, no matter where they are, whether they're an atheist, whether they're a Christian, whether they're Buddhist, I find them extremely fascinating to listen to and learn from. I find different points of view incredibly challenging and beautiful and fascinating. And so that's why I come to places like this. That's why I have no problem supporting you guys, sending you money, because I just find the dialogue tremendously interesting.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And if you would like, I'm just going to send the ball back to you. If you have a sentence or two to say just what you got going on, or your final thoughts on has God ever spoken to you.
I just want to thank him for being such a good sport. We did that video about him, and but he came on. He's having a cordial conversation, and
our version of Whack and Atheist.
Yeah, our version. You've been in Amy's hot seat before, so
my.
You know how it feels.
I appreciate it. I thought that was fun and in good nature. So, no, just keep the dialogues going. It's great to see this happening. Again, I just think that we should all be searching for truth, and that's part of love. So, again, in my worldview, what it means to love one another is to lead one another in truth. That's part of it. That's not all. That's not all inclusive. I'm not saying that's the only thing love is. But that's how we love each other. Listen, if I believe I have something that's true, I out of my love, I want you to have it, right? I mean, and the same is true, I believe, coming from your end. You believe you have something that's true, and you believe has value, and so you share it. And I would also say this, that what I found was that the Bible makes a claim. It makes a testable claim, because God says, if you seek me with all of your heart, you will find me. That seems to me to be a testable hypothesis. I know I'm using the word loosely. Don't jump all over me on the chats, okay?
Oh, no, I find my yoga teacher, it's a hypothesis I test
Very testable.
over and over and over.
Yeah, and so, again, I wasn't going out to test that hypothesis, because that wouldn't have been sincere, but that's just what I found true. I sought God earnestly, and I found him, and again, I'm not saying I can't make any other claim than that. That's what happened to me. I'm claiming that's what happened to me. But I really appreciate your time today, and sorry for hijacking so much of it. But you guys are very enjoyable. Oh, and every time a cat comes on the screen, it's so adorable. So I just love that your pets come in and sometimes hijack the video.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Yay! Oh, Penelope's. But thank you so very much, Chris.
Goodbye. Thank you.
It was lovely
Have a good
having
night.
you on. Mwah.
It's great talking to you guys.
And all right, I think we're going to just thank three more Patreons. We're going to get John Vance on. So thank you so very much, Chris. And also sending love to a grumpy old cuz.
Thanks, Grumpy.
That's right. Especially, and I could feel it in the back of my brain wanting to ask how old the age of the earth was, but I'm like, that'd be another thing. But it makes a grumpy old cuss, and all of us go bleep, 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 bleep. And also a Diana Smith sending love to Princesses in One, reminding us that the Abrahamic religions aren't really that great. The track record when it comes to
It's kind of
shooting
spotty.
51% of the
Got
other sex. Yeah.
Dale out there. Good to see you, Dale.
What is out there?
In fact, he's about to be next. Yeah.
Yeah, well, also sending. Well, we'll go to him just because you said now. I'm gonna send.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to do a double fister, which I kind of like. But so we're gonna
She's
send
always down for
love
that.
out to Devastation because we're looking for some empirical evidence. That tends to be what we ask for, even though that seems to be off limits to a lot of theist creationists.
Thanks again, Chris, for another $10 super chat.
Yes, no,
Very kind of you, Chris.
I honestly cannot send
It was a good conversation.
more love to all of the support that we have been getting. It has been great, and we're just sending that love right back. And also Pat Lowinger,
Pat,
sending
good to
love.
see
We
you,
saw
Pat.
Pat in there. I'm
How
glad
was
I
it
got his
before?
question. And thank you for a super chats. Also sending once again to Biddy.
I do just want to say before we get John on that we had Atheist Junior on. I'm sure you guys all know his channel. But did you know Atheist Junior will be debating Ken Hovind, and that debate is coming up. Let me get the date on it. It's coming up in the next 2 weeks or so. I want to get you that exact date because that is a rematch you are not going to want to miss. That will be on the 22nd, June 22nd. So mark your calendars. That is a Wednesday, June 22nd. Atheist Junior versus Ken Hovind. It's going to be epic. And if you guys haven't heard yet, if you don't know because we haven't announced it yet, on the 18th of June, I will be on Standing for Truth debating Nephilim Free on Dinosaurs Living with Man. And no, I know
His name
dinosaurs
is
live with man
literally
now.
Giants Free. Can we just appreciate for that a bit?
Dinosaurs living with man. Yeah.
Like it sounds fancy when you say Nephilim, but
Giant human angel hybrids that are giants for some reason. And I actually also have a debate on Tuesday the 28th coming up on the flood, the global flood. That is coming up. And another debate next month with Ken Hovind, but we'll talk about that later. But so I've got the 18th and the 28th, and Atheist Junior's got the 22nd, Standing for Truth.
And I also want to send love. Chris sends
another chat, yeah. Another chat,
saying, "Have a great night."
He's a great sport.
Time for me to go to bed before I start hearing all sorts of voices. The Earth is very darn old. Oh, well, now I'm in love.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear.
Exactly. I mean, whenever I learn that a theist believes in evolution, that the Earth is getting warmer, and that it's 4.5 billion years old, everything else is just an intellectual debate.
Now, Mark Reed also has a debate coming up on the 20th. That is on the Monday versus T-Rock. That's a guy I'll be debating the flood on the 28th, but Mark is debating him on evidence for God. So
also,
there's going to be like so many good debates coming up.
It is raining and thundering, and I just heard my battery back off go off. So if Satan or Saturn, because he's 50% softer, summons me, you'll know what happened. But I think.
Sea Science, we just got lucky
oh,
with
you
that
know what?
one.
There you go. Thank you for telling me. I forget every time. Well, because of
your mic?
The two headphones, I went through the two headphones. I had to go back to these. I forgot to put it on my Yeti. So there you go. I probably now you guys.
Now she sounds clear.
Sea Science says, "Hey, ooh, you can hear
I
it."
don't see your Ken Hovind debate coming up, but when is that going to be, Mark?
University. That's
Universe didn't have to be made to support an innumerable amount of conscious life. Why do you suppose it does? I think it supports conscious life because it's one of the mechanisms that Eurocratic organisms gather energy. Like, I love
Part of
consciousness,
evolution.
but it's a theme of
Did we lose Amy, or did you guys lose me? Amy was raptured. All right, guys, I'm sure she'll be right back. She's got that, yeah, she's got that new computer, but apparently there's still a few bugs to be worked out, but that's fine. But yeah, guys, we have so many great debates coming up. We have so many good things. Hopefully, we'll get more debates on our channel, but there's so many more good debates to check out in the next coming month, mostly on the Standing for Truth channel, but that's where I debate a lot. It's a good channel. I like going on there. Donnie is always he's always been good. I have no complaints about that. But I hope everybody's doing great while we wait for Amy. How's everybody doing? So we actually took a week off. Amy was upgrading her system and just taking some time to decompress. Oh, Tuesday, July 12th is a Mark Reed's debate versus Ken Hovind. I think I'm going to be debating him on the 14th, so soften him up a little bit for me there, Mark. But my debate, this will be round 3, is specifically on hominid evolution, because you know with Hovind that you have to keep it very specific to one topic, even though he brings up whatever he wants, but if you bring up anything that's in another topic or even another thing, then he gets all bent up out of shape about it. And I see X music, but we're just going to keep it on topic. Yeah, I think everybody can make up their own minds about his extracurricular activities, and we'll let the judicial system make up their minds on that. But yeah, so I'll be debating him on hominid evolution, specifically the fossil record and what it can do to support that. So that's going to be fun. I'm going to be debating Nephilim Free on dinosaur-man coexistence, and I realized birds are dinosaurs, so technically we do coexist with them, but of course dinosaurs in the colloquial sense of the large reptiles, quasi-reptiles that lived millions of years ago. Well, that mainstream science says lived millions of years ago, but I guess we're going to hear some additional evidence otherwise. And then I've got T-Rock. I'll be debating Noah's flood. That'll be fun. So yeah, I've got a lot of debate prep to do, but it's going to be a lot of fun. That's true, Shane. Those cassowaries, they have they kill people every year, I think. One in the United States killed somebody a few years ago, and it was kind of just threw everybody for a loop. But they do have a nasty, sharp claw on their feet, and they jump up like straight up and thrust that claw forward, and they can really put a hurting on you. So not the kind of bird you really want to mess with. But it's amazing what evolution has produced, the diversity of life that evolution has produced on this planet. It is truly amazing, truly amazing. So yeah, debate with Nephilim Free coming up. That's going to be a lot of fun. I've seen him debate. He's debated Atheist Junior on the topic. He's debated T-Jump. He's debated a couple other people. So I have a pretty good idea of what he's going to be coming to the table with, and it'll be a lot of fun. What can I say? It'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, some people X music get a little bit triggered, but I don't know that he's done anything like that. Sunflower. Atheist Junior will be debating Ken Hovind too, and that's going to be a really good debate. They debated each other about a year ago, and as we wait for Amy to come back any minute now, but yeah, Atheist Junior debated Ken Hovind about a year ago on should evolution be taught in schools, and he did very well in that debate, but he's going to do even better in this debate. He's got another year of experience under his belt. He has watched every Ken Hovind debate. He has watched every video Ken Hovind's ever put out. If there's anybody who's going to be prepared for this debate, it's going to be Atheist Junior. And he's helped me in my preparation for Ken Hovind debates because he can almost tell you exactly what Ken Hovind is going to say before Ken Hovind says it. He knows him that well. And yeah, it's going to be fun. So you've got lots of good debates coming up over the next few weeks. And so, does God talk to you? Does God talk to anybody? And I think I would just say, because I didn't know that we would have anybody even want to come on and say that God has talked to them. But we did have a gentleman come on, and he was very gracious to do that. But so where does this all go to? Where does it? The root of this is divine hiddenness, the doctrine of divine hiddenness, and that's the idea that God is there, but he intentionally refuses to communicate directly with us because reasons. And we know that is not how it's always been. We know that there have been plenty of times in the past where God was more than willing to directly speak with his creation, or times in the past where God almost came down and micromanaged the affairs of his creation. But we're told as time went on, he decided he doesn't want to do that anymore, and he's not going to talk to his creation anymore. So we are now left with what other people he did talk to said, or what information he beamed into people's heads at one point that he talked to. And that's all we're stuck with, and I'm not happy with that. I don't think anybody really should be happy with that, just relying on what other people say. And yeah, it doesn't work for me, and I don't think it should work for you guys. See what's going on. If we can get a hold of Amy, maybe we'll get John Vance in here while we wait for Amy.
Hello.
Hey, John.
Can you hear me?
Welcome aboard. I hear you.
Oh, perfect. Cool.
Have you been on the show before?
Yeah, I just have a different avatar. I came in as Dr. Kevin B.
Oh, that's you. Great. Just as Amy is back. Amy Newman is back. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. And she's muted.
Oh, there we go. I have to do it once. That's right.
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum.
I did not realize this was another one of your names, Dr. Kevin. I didn't realize we were dealing with you, but I apologize for that.
I have a more appropriate avatar for this.
I will
evening.
say that you did kind of trigger. I mean, I had a lot of time while the computer was being built, so we do have a lovely
What, a blue screen, Amy, on the new computer?
What's that? No, so it's so funny. Of course, the one time on the new computer. No, it's just the internet went out because of this thunderstorm. We had basically flash flood and all this shit warning. But I have a battery backup, so I can sit here on the computer with power, but then the internet has to actually
The internet
connect.
goes out.
Or I mean,
Dang.
I get summoned by Satan. Speaking of which, We always have a cute little Earth, sending love to Dave Gar, but we now have a lovely moon that I believe got slashed in half. So we
Split
have
in
that.
half.
Do you have a flat Earth
uh,
beanie or
Well, you know, we try
those are
and
beanies, right?
they're plushies, but
Plushies, okay.
basically,
Close enough.
we try and squish to a flat Earth, but as much as we can, they look round. Isn't that crazy?
Amazing.
Amazing.
Gravity.
Gravity.
Some people actually say so. The flat Earth argument would be if you look at a UN map, like I don't know if you've heard of Operation High Jump, where you're basically
I
if you
saw
try to
that
go to the
Marvel
south,
movie.
if you go to the like try to go to the South Pole, there's like an army of people there that you can't go to the
I
South
don't think
Pole.
that's true.
But
I would have to see
supposedly
evidence of that.
that's where the edge of the Earth is.
Yeah.
And the blue sky is oceans. Oh, yes, you have the.
Are you a flat earther, John?
No. I have friends who are flat earthers. I have a hard time
That doesn't surprise
grasping.
me, but you're not.
I have a hard time grasping their theories, and they
Is
just
that
say,
like
"Well,
the
look
one
at this UN
conspiracy
map."
theory
And
you
then there's
don't buy
ice.
into? Is that like the one theory that is even too much for you?
I feel like because I'm a theist, because I can't. I don't know. I have plausible deniability, but
Yeah.
I'm open to it, and maybe if they can give me more convincing arguments, I would consider flat Earth. But at the moment, right now, I can't. But it is odd though. Like,
You're not there yet.
Just like maybe like I'm dipping my toe in there, and I can't
But
go in
can
all the
I
way.
ask you
Yeah.
a similar question? How do you
Sorry, we're going off
feel
topic.
about ants?
Ants?
Yes. Do you?
My feeling about ants.
That's
I don't know.
You don't
Are you
hear
a
it
big fan
talking?
of Pixar movies?
No.
Yes, because it's my two. I got many. Generally, I have a kind of like a
Sorry,
plethora
Sea
of
Science. Have a good
troll,
night. Great to see
Jewish and Christian props. Who's going to bed?
you. Sea Science.
Good night, Sea. Oh, I do see Sea Science also sending love. Also asking, do you think atheistic philosophy allows for belief in eternal things? Well, first of all, I would say that, an atheist, just because you have that one worldview, you can really have philosophical position
That's right,
on almost
Basil.
anything else. But can we believe in eternal things? I think that some people do, some people don't. I could see how
In a sense.
some people could think that the universe is eternal, but in some sense, we know that there is going to be a heat death. Could there be ways that it continues
or rebirth?
some other? Who knows?
It's a very interesting perspective.
Is Dr. Mengele one? Is that one of your fans out there, John?
Yeah.
No. Well, maybe, I don't know. I do have. I have.
Sounds like
my channel
one
has reached. My channel has reached over 100 subscribers, so that's a milestone for me.
Woo hoo hoo!
Yeah.
So excited for you.
Big deal. I used to hang out with Claire Cobb, but now we've separated.
Oh.
But I feel like I feel like my audience.
Well, give her another chance. Give her another chance.
Yeah. That's a long story, but yeah. So on the topic,
that whole 100 lashes thing didn't go over so well, did it?
Well, yeah. That
she pulls out the stick and wants to. Yeah, no.
I mean,
it doesn't go so.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, there should be some shame and like for adultery and stuff like that. But like, maybe you guys disagree with that. That's fine. But she used that as like a crux for like every argument. It was like really annoying to get. It just got to a point where it like every topic that we talked about always seemed to tail back. This is the same as like talking to these like raving anti-Semitic people who blame everything on, you know, the Jays, and she just blamed everything on slutty women. That was her crux, basically. That was her mental crux, and it got really old. She could be like a plant. I don't know. I tend to
do
get,
have to say,
yeah.
we have to because we were getting orders. That's right. What's that?
George,
Yeah, I can't help it.
Is God
Yes?
talking to you?
No.
our God.
It's a different G word. We actually take orders directly from Soros, and so every once in a while,
Kind of like
we
our
have-
God.
exactly.
This
We
guy's
have
out
to
of
keep
control.
on pushing that the world is round, that vaccines work, that
I haven't
atheism is
mentioned anything
rational.
about it.
No. Once
Oh,
again,
she read your mind. She read your mind.
I haven't.
he was gonna shut it
haven't-
down, but we're okay now. We're good. We're good.
Dang it! Ugh.
Foiled again.
I wanted to talk about my otherworldly experience. So sorry, so the topic. Okay, let's start. So have I talked to God? So I think I have maybe I'll go through my personal background. So I basically I grew up secular, and
This could be dangerous.
there was
but
always.
okay.
And
Pardon?
can I just interrupt you just like to, I can't help it because I am noticing a pattern, which is
Okay.
interesting, which
Okay.
is no, you know what? Continue.
Okay.
You grew up.
Make a note of that, Amy.
It reminds me of the
Sure,
Bill.
take a note.
The Bill.
He
well,
grew up secular. Okay. So we didn't go to church. We didn't like read the Bible or anything like that. I think there was one time we did go to Christian school. And I remember I kind of felt kind of left out because like me and my sisters weren't the only ones who were baptized. So after that, we kind of said we kind of felt uncomfortable because we weren't baptized, so we're kind of like ostracized again from the church. So basically, I just kind of want. I guess I was kind of agnostic on things. I never really like I had an atheist friend, but I was never like I didn't believe in anything otherworldly. That I didn't have a materialist worldview. Maybe I was a little bit materialist, but I always thought there was always something more than this material realm. So I think when I was after high school, I realized that I don't know a lot of kids nowadays they experience depression or some sort or mental illness of some sorts. And I guess in a way I felt like when I was hitting, I guess, my mental rock bottom, I felt like there was something that touched me on my shoulder. So it was like Christians would say that would be like an angel. Maybe some would say God, but I felt it was like an angel. And I felt like after I hit that, I guess metaphorically rock bottom, that that's when I kind of wanted to improve myself, wanted to improve my mental as well as like my life situation, all that stuff, get a job and go to school, go to college or whatever, right? And so basically I felt that. And then when I went to college, I met up with this guy. He was an evangelical, and the first like kind of I guess sermon that I went to was this like they were speaking tongues. So it was kind of freaky for me because this I was with this Mormon and this evangelical, and they're used to like seeing people speak tongues, and I was kind of freaked out by it.
And I like speaking tongues. I stand by it.
Yeah,
Just
to a
because
point.
it's
If you're on the
controlled
ground,
babble.
if you're on the ground like having a seizure, I'd probably like be whole fuck, there's something wrong with her. I gotta do CPR. But yeah,
Funny you
I
say
mean, it just basically it was too far, and it was like kind of traumatic for me. So I kind of just left it alone. But and then the next year, I was living in this house that was like haunted, and that was like ghosts and all that stuff. And this lady I was with was like
With bubblegum gun?
Pardon?
Oh, with bubblegum gun or somebody else?
Bubblegum, yeah. But yeah, it was like I remember I was laying in my bed, and my roommates were downstairs. I remember this, like, it was like somebody was like coming by my ear and whispering, and it said hi, and I was kind of freaked out, kind of like it sounded like a 6-year-old girl or something like that. It was like something just fucking with me, you know what I mean? So to me,
Now it sounds like The Ring.
yeah, it's crazy. But
It was
I guess
Aisha.
like yeah, so like I'm just gonna. It's supernatural, so this is what you get. When you invite this energy in, Amy, this is what you get. So I realize, this is.
Well, can I pause for just a second?
Sure,
Can I
sure.
ask? Okay, you said you believed in ghosts, and you said you were in a haunted house, which
Yeah,
that necessitates ghosts. At this
yeah,
point, would you describe yourself as because you said secular,
yes.
which could be no. Would you describe yourself as an atheist, a non-believer? Any of those labels? Maybe none.
Uh, Maybe like agnostic.
Agnostic. And do you then or now consider yourself a skeptic?
A skeptic of what exactly?
So I would say most skeptics feel that it is more of a mindset, that we are naturally skeptical. So, for example, I do not believe in angels, demons,
Uh-huh.
identifiable flying objects. I trying to think.
Do you believe
Um,
in ghosts?
I don't believe in ghosts,
Wow.
telekinesis, and afterlife.
Uh-huh.
And you could say, where is all this coming from? Well, I mean,
Hmm.
I don't believe in gods. And I would
Okay.
say it stems from my skepticism. It stems from the fact that I only believe things that I think have empirical evidence, because I think that's the strongest standard. And
Okay.
oftentimes, what do I even mean by empirical? Because I think that even sounds too clinical. What I
Okay.
mean is testifiable is you can actually write down a hypothesis,
Uh-huh.
test it,
Okay.
get results from it, and then
Right.
other
Quantifiable.
people can get the exact same results by the same methods that you've done. That's what I mean by my skeptical outlook and having a high
Okay.
standard. And that bar
Okay.
I have for everything. And even though that sounds like a lot, I
Uh-huh.
can get much further in very stupid things. Like my
Okay.
method, if I want to know how much a soda is, okay, I say I think a soda is $3 at the store. Okay, I've made a hypothesis. I go and
Right.
I go up to the cashier and I go, how much is a soda? And they say it's $3.50. And I go, damn, my experiment gave me different results. And my friend, and I go, yo, Johnny, get a soda. Tell me how much. And he goes, okay, I only have $3. Well, it's $3.50. He goes, damn it, I need 50 cents. There you go. There's 2 data points. You are peer reviewing a verifiable, testable experiment in the real world. And as silly as that sounds, we can
Okay.
never get that from religious people.
Okay. I mean, you can go off of, like, I guess, because I was mentioning ghosts. Like, I know my roommate had a similar experience, maybe not the same as mine, but he did see something kind of move around that was like a mouse. But when you turn on his light, and it's just kind of like it's vibrational. So
Can I pause
sure,
you for a second?
sure.
I hate to, but you say kind of like a mouse. Could we go at least 50-50 odds it was a mouse?
No, like he searched and it wasn't a mouse. There was no mouse up there. Supposedly, this is a testimony, of course. So, you know,
Supposedly.
in the court of law, maybe it's not the best, but
Your Honor.
he told a consistent story, and I had a weird story too. So it's not like something that, hey guys, like if you want to prove yourself, you have to prove yourself over and over and over again. I don't think that's really how the supernatural works, or a belief in a god works. It's like, it's basically like you have to have.
Well, if I can pause you again, that's the
Sure.
difference between science and religion. And that's my fedora, I guess, tight on.
Science is a religion.
But I mean, and we often get accused. It's scientism. You have such a high bar, and then we get attacked day in day out from like evolution and the age of the Earth, and
right.
Flintstones was a documentary, and their bars seem to, like, for lots of scientific subjects, seem to be very high. But for God, it's like, eh.
Well, that's the thing, is like you could still be scientific and believe in God.
Sure.
I believe there are a lot of scientifically minded
people don't
and
necessarily
people who are theists. I 100%.
I think
agree.
some people like conflate it in, like, if you are a believer, and I guess maybe this is has something to do with the Catholic Church, or I guess the denominations of Christianity, or like that, if you believe in religion, you're anti-science, and that you don't believe in the scientific method. I disagree with that, in that you could still be scientific because God gave you a brain to, think things out rationally, but there's just some things that we just can't, like, I know, like, as humans, our natural impulse is to predict things on the dime, and they have to be on the spot, on the, like, every time, like a hypothesis. I mean, that works for some situations. Other situations, it would just have to go off of testimony and the person telling the truth, which also comes from the faith. So, lying is a sin, and it's frowned upon. And I noticed the last guy too, he mentioned something about lying, and that he was a liar before he turned to faith. And actually, I was, I guess you could say I was a bit of a drunkard, and I swore a lot, and I partied, and I, had my fun, I guess you could say. And I remember my one Christian friend would be like, "Well, I guess we're gonna have to get the pressure washer out to wash you out of all of your sins that you just committed last night." And it was kind of funny when he said it, but it was kind of true. But I guess maybe it just planted a seed in me, and it just grew. So I look at faith as kind of like something you plant a seed in, and you just grow it, And
Can I just
sure.
once again, I just like I think the monomyth is really us telling the story of fire and going out through journeys and then bringing it back. I
Yeah.
think that it is a common occurrence that our 20s, sometimes our 30s, are wild, and then you kind of calm down. You almost burn out from doing so much crazy stuff, and you kind of want to slow things down. I think that's just a tale as old as time. I think that is part of us as humans.
Right.
I know.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that. Yeah, I mean, you are right to some extent. I think other people have different experiences, I guess, depending upon how they grew up, how they were raised, and maybe the characteristics, their genetics. That lots of things go into that. But maybe as a hypothesis, that would be true to some extent. but I guess maybe the more philosophical side. So I guess you could say I'm a practicing Muslim. So basically, I came to that faith through my rational thought, and there was no way that I could believe in the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. That was kind of a way of viewing things in that lens, clouded, I guess, the wisdom and everything. Yeah, it just kind of clouded, like, the wisdom in the Bible, the wisdom in the Quran. So I've it seems to be natural now for me anyway to kind of abstain from doing the cross, whatchamacallit, the prayer, like when you touch your head and you touch your left shoulder, you touch your right shoulder,
Sign
Father,
of the
Son, and
cross.
Holy Spirit. Yeah,
I do
that,
some of that in yoga. I
yeah.
think good safety position. But then you have to get in the downward dog. It's
But you were already in that positioning.
oh my, me and Gavin, how you doing down there? He's doing good. But we'll circle back
Sure.
because I think that you were getting to a time when God spoke to you. So
Okay.
we'll take in the merchants of doubt, the skepticism, but we really want to know. You are in a haunted house.
Yes.
You are apparently leading up. God may have spoken to you.
Or it could have been a ghost. A 6-year-old girl.
Okay,
who was a
continue.
ghost.
It was so. It was
The thing is, like, a ghost and an angels are like two different deities. Like, ghosts are like humans of past lives, and an angel is, I guess you could say, a different,
Different
maybe
creature altogether.
a more
Sure.
wise deity, I guess you could say. Put it simply. A ghost is kind of like, you just left. But I know you don't believe in a consciousness after this
Well,
material
can I tell
realm.
you? I can't
Sure,
help it.
sure.
The more we talk it, I have such problems with the logistics
Uh-huh.
of a ghost because, and a lot of them oftentimes is the same problems I have with a god in that they end up being plot devices more than anything else. They exist for themselves, just to exist because there's no other reason. And I'll give you an example. Our consciousness does not just exist. And I'll bring up comments I think that
Uh-huh.
C Science was talking about. Like our there is no free meal. Like our consciousness exists to go out, collect food, get rid of the food, and sometimes mate. And so like it really is, and I'm always open to arguing about those points.
Right.
I feel like they're driven that way, and yet so a ghost to me is this nebulous thing, like it's a consciousness
that's probably
without just my last point is
sure.
consciousness. We are the most important thing in the world. We're like, throw the body out. What the hell? Well, why do we even need the body? I'll upgrade it, downgrade it, throw it. Doesn't even matter.
Right.
But to the body, it's the exact opposite. You are one of its organs. You work very closely with digestion and a bunch of other functions. And so without the body, I just don't understand why consciousness would ever be around, exist. It just doesn't make sense to me without a body.
Right. Yeah. So I'm just gonna go back to like the ghost testimony, and then maybe I'll touch on to your
Absolutely. I know that was a lot, so I'm just handing you back
your
the
tangent
ball.
there.
She's
But
giving it
I
to
have
you.
heard of people
Really?
like saying that, like they've seen stuff move around for no apparent reason, and there's some haunted houses that have negative energy to them. And there's also, I forget what kind of reader, but there's also a reader too that you can read different
Just don't see
wave
an
activities
e-meter
about,
and we'll be good.
about Yeah, those ones.
Are you serious? Oh, you're hurting me. We have to do an entire episode on Scientology because an e-meter, it's 1/3 of a lie detector test and then 2/3 imagination.
Yeah, whatever those. Yeah, yeah. So and I've heard people, like give me testimony about their experiences as well too. So I guess it just depends upon the personality. Some people will open up. Obviously I'm open minded to these types of experiences. So people feel more comfortable opening up to me about those. I guess maybe they wouldn't feel so comfortable opening up to you just because you're an atheist and be like, oh, I'm just going to sound like an idiot to her. So why would I even bother? So, that's probably, that's
We're
just
the
our different lived
scoffers.
experiences, right?
Really.
You're a
Well,
materialist.
and
So.
I mean, look, we get we're sending love out there to Bubblegum Gun. Or I'm pretty sure it was him who told us that one of the most powerful tools was a Ouija board. If I'm straw manning
Sending
you,
I don't know,
nice
tell me
man.
signals.
wrong.
I don't know if you want to
No,
fuck with
he
those
said
things,
it.
man. That's the Ouija board is you don't want to
Listen,
mess with
Amy
those things.
would do anything in the world with a.
I'm
She would in a house with a mouse, with a cat,
Do a
in a
Ouija
haunted
board.
house.
Amy, you should do an episode with a Ouija board in a haunted house, like a supposed haunted
I would
house. Supposed
100% do that.
allegedly. So
No,
Wearing all black
just
with black
but
stockings.
you got it. The thing is with these things is like if you and like and maybe you don't want to do it, like maybe I would maybe
oh
be
my.
cautious about doing it. But since you maybe if you believe in it, like if you even genuinely were open
Oh,
minded enough, be like, okay, whatever you are, show yourself. God damn it, maybe something would happen. Maybe that's what you need.
you
I
have to
don't know,
believe in it first.
but yeah, you
I
definitely do. But
not
the thing is,
only that, if there's ever been a curse, I've always been the person like whenever they're like, don't say this 3 times. I'm like, say it, dead it, dead it, dead it, dead it. Nothing. Because I can't help myself. I just want to know the truth. And look, if it turns out that I get killed by Sasquatch, damn it, I will be killed by Sasquatch. But I just want to know the truth about all these things. If it turns out that a Ouija board is the most useful tool to figuring out tools from the super, which is funny, that the answer you
that'd be
gave
good
was
content.
uh, oh, I would 100% go into now if it's you go
Amy
in
meets
there and it's
Satan.
like, oh my god, okay, someone needs to get a methane gas emitter because there's a gas in here making people hallucinate. Maybe we're onto something. But
And then Satan comes out and says, "Hi, I'm real."
speaking of which, I can't help but ask. This is a complete tangent, but do you
But
believe in Jim?
I feel honestly,
Okay,
I shouldn't make light of these things because I take them very
that's okay. That's
seriously,
our job.
I know you guys take light of them,
We'll
but
mock and
I
scoff and blaspheme.
feel like if you want to do that on your own free will, you can do that. I don't want to feel like I'm doing any undue influence on you or making you do it. It's just
Can I ask you
suggestion.
a kind of a weird question? I wanted
Sure.
to ask Chris, but James and I looked at the same video. I think today that we were like, wow. Just it was a really good question, which is uh, God. He can do many things. They even say he's omnipotent. I don't know if you're are you a believer in like the omnis and all that stuff?
Um, like omnipotence.
Yes, and it's really not even about those, but
Okay.
God's
the
I guess
real
you could
omnipotent
say
and
like I'm a
question.
monotheist to make it simpler. Monotheist,
Okay, uh,
maybe different from polytheist, but um, you go ahead.
well, and I wonder if this would actually obtain even more to a Christian, because I feel like this question is built into their theology.
Okay,
So
I
I'm
can
going to
attempt to
ask
answer it.
this to a okay. Can God feel regret?
Can God feel regret?
Yes.
Like, so you mentioned you talked to a Christian. So, like, are you saying
Or I
that?
would say James and I both heard this recently. I believe his name was Forrest. He was sitting to
On
the
the
side
line.
of Matt Dillahunty on the line, and it was just
Mhm.
a line of questioning that it could, because either way,
A
I feel
Christian
it
we've dealt with
fails.
before.
So yes, I just
We've locked horns with this guy
yes,
before.
indeed. Biblically speaking, I feel like we've spoken with him before. But I ask again: can God feel regret?
Can God feel regret?
Hmm.
I feel like we would be, uh, I guess maybe not to sound like a broken record from the last guy, but we'd be imparting our human moral, I guess, judgment on a omnipotent being. Um, believe that God gave us free will, and that with that free will we have consequences.
Can
Um,
I pause you?
as okay,
Does God have free will? Just I can't help it now.
Similar lines of thought.
there is an order of the universe that was created, and that he brought down messengers of the Abrahamic faiths, so that either like Muhammad,
So
David,
he
Abraham,
does have free
Jesus.
will.
Pardon?
So he does have free will.
In a way, well, yeah. If God has free will, we have free will, and but there's always consequences to our actions. So there's always a cause and effect to
So
everything.
if
It's such a big question.
well, no, what I would say is, so it sounded
So
like what you said.
what would be
We
like
could
a
have
regretful?
regret because we have free will. And then, so what I would say, God has free will, therefore, he can
Therefore,
have
God has regret.
regret. Or at least the possibility is out there.
If God has regret.
He could feel regret. Something has happened that
Hmm.
he actually thinks
Welcome
is a
back, Chris.
mistake.
Well, like to say, John, so it's like, would God do something that he would know he would regret,
Uh-huh.
yet he would do it anyway, knowing he's going to regret it? But regret is you mean you wish you didn't do something.
Right.
It's like there's something here
Yeah,
that's not connecting.
but in a way, like you're imparting your own value system and into what he would find regrettable.
But if he says I regret something, we have to
Mhm.
take that at face value that he did something that he now wishes he did not do before.
He- yeah, but he's the all powerful, all knowing, and all loving, I guess you could say.
I know.
So,
That's the
so
problem.
so yeah, it's just this issue, this, I guess, this metaphysical issue of well, what would he find regrettable? And that's like not for really us to decide.
Specifically in the Bible, it's he regretted making humans because they turned out to be dipshits, so he had to send a flood to kill them
Oh,
all.
we're made of sin and all that. Okay, so that's a
humans
more
fuck up his shit
specific
all the time.
question. Okay, and I could maybe theologically delve into that. So there's different ways that so Christians. Okay, I see where you're coming from now, because it was such a big question. I didn't know where to dissect that. But so I guess Jesus on the cross, he died for your sins, and we're inherently sinful, and we need to uh,
Can I
re-
pause for a second? Do
put all
you
our sins
believe?
on the Son of God, and all will be forgiven. Is that maybe you're saying that God made a mistake by making us sinful?
I will. I would say that at least from, and this is just a non-Christian worldview, but
Okay.
it would appear that at least in Christianity, God made a mistake. That he can't
Mhm.
be perfect because there are things he had to actually send something down
Mhm.
to actually
To kill
forgive
everybody.
us. Well, he also had to
Well, the
drown
flood.
everyone, and but I feel like
If you read Jeremiah, it's quite revealing on how what God feels about um, death and how you should, I guess, approach as sinners of their death. It's quite, I guess, some would say quite gruesome, but um, I guess when you view it from the lens of God, um, because I feel like you're coming at this from like a material consciousness, and so you're basically like you're imparting. I don't know if you realize this or not, but you're imparting. Well, does God feel regret? Well, which moral system are we
can
referring
I
to? Are
tell
we
you
sure?
why there is
His own.
only, as far as I can tell, material consciousness, and I feel bad. James will tell you once again. This is my shtick.
Yeah.
Like, and I'll get super serial, and I'm only doing that to put like my emphasis on the subject, is that when we talk about consciousness in like the lay community and theology and philosophy, it's very fuzzy, it's very special, it's very nebulous. It's like, what is consciousness? What is going on? How can we understand it? But the moment that someone loses consciousness,
Uh
we're
huh.
like, oh no, oh no, that's that, it's right there, right there. No, they're passed out on the floor. Do you see them? Like they're not moving, they're not doing. Like Johnny, we had to push him over to the side because he just stopped moving. He lost his consciousness. And so, like the moment that something goes wrong with our consciousness,
Uh huh.
it's quickly how like just we want the medical, physical, natural definition of consciousness.
Well, maybe there's always a reason for somebody to um, die, and there's always, I guess, I've heard of people saying that they died for a couple seconds, and then they had an experience, and they said, you know what, like God wants me to keep going, so I came back to life, and I had this
I would say that
otherworldly
true death,
experience,
but
and I need to come back. I'm not denying that. Yes, if you should know CPR and all that. I'm not saying that's a substitute. I'm just saying that
Well, if I can
when people
interrupt you
go
for a future
go out
faith,
of consciousness, that sometimes when they have another worldly experience, or they have maybe a different type of, like when you dream, you're going into a different type of, maybe you're going into your subconscious, or you're going into stuff that
just
you just
glad you
can't
didn't
really
say
fathom.
world.
And
That sentence could have went anywhere.
yeah, so when you dream, like sometimes you have dreams that just don't make sense, but sometimes you get people who get deja vu. They're like, wait,
Well,
haven't I been here before? But you haven't.
oh,
And
ding,
this,
ding,
well,
ding.
no, it's just
yeah,
you keep on
yeah,
hitting on
yeah.
subjects that,
You,
No,
like,
you bring it, or you say, hey, Theus, hey, have you talked to God? Hey, this is what you get,
so funny enough, I have what is called temporal lobe epilepsy. And
Okay.
the onset of temporal lobe epilepsy is we have anyone who has epilepsy has what are called auras. Auras are the onset, like what you feel right before. So it's a natural, material aura, and the because it is the temporal lobe, it is the lobe dealing with memory. The specific uh, thing that you feel before a seizure is deja vu. And
So you're
so,
saying, so you're saying because people have deja vu, they're about to experience a seizure?
it's a
oh, no, no,
symptom.
no. I'm saying that very specifically the onset of tempor yeah, Give me 1 second. And let me mute my mic. Someone else talk for a second.
Okay. Yeah. So
Go ahead.
basically, like, I guess maybe we can go back to the God maybe regretting something. That would
Sure.
be imparting our values on an otherworldly deity, and I get why people would be like, oh, why would you believe in such a deity that would advocate for, uh, death of people who kept sinning and didn't listen? But
Right.
I would say I would approach it in this way, in that I believe in a consciousness after death. And
But what if God's telling you, I regret something? There's something I did, and damn it, I wish I didn't do that.
right.
I mean, wouldn't you have to take that at face value that he is expressing to you that he has regret? There's what it means to regret as a deity, we can't know
Uh-huh.
because we're not a deity, but
Right.
taken at face value, it seems like he at least can feel regret.
And I just wanted to point this
Mhm.
out, which is just it's the same sort of, I don't know, sensation that we get. That is the onset that
Oh, the epilepsy.
yeah, I forgot what the main thing. I just wanted to show my
Or
sources, I
seizures. Sorry.
guess.
Sorry. You're
Yeah,
talking about
I forget.
so basically your claim is that once you have you're close to the onset of getting a seizure if you have deja vu. Is that your claim?
Well, yes, there are many times I have. I'm sure there are times I have deja vu where
Hmm.
it's not, but that was one of my symptoms. And so there are just many occurrences for why people would have deja vu. I also have a
Right.
black cat and take pills to not have deja vu and my consciousness pass out. So it matches the matrix exactly. And yet
Yeah.
still
So
seems
so
like it's a natural world.
do you strive for like a perfected, like, consciousness,
A
like a
perfected
being, like
consciousness.
what sort? So basically this goes back to value. So what do you value? So what I
So,
value and what
and
you value are totally different things, and it comes from.
maybe, and
Mhm.
I have a
and
slightly
so and so
different
what
view
you would
than
say, like,
James,
sorry.
but similar. Well, James would say he is a moral subjectivist. I would say I believe in ethics based on situations. And
Okay.
so I think that there are two underlying thumbs that I use for what I would say the game theory of either zero sum or cooperative social interactions. That is, agents dealing with each other. And that is biology, what people are made of. And the example I show, because I get pushback, I have gotten physical laughs from this the moment I say biology. But if a lot of atheists don't think that cutting a hand off is a just for stealing. I would agree for most things, unless you stole AIDS poison, like vaccines from someone or something, you held something back.
God
You
forbid the
should probably.
vaccines.
I'm trying to think of something that like I'm very
Sorry,
very
vaccines are
pro
safe and
vaccines.
effective. Sorry, YouTube. That's
They
very safe
are.
and effective.
Well, once again,
Here we
Wink,
go.
wink.
same way, but the ratio, because yes, you can have some sort of metallic or allergic reaction, but
Mhm.
you could generally have an allergic from hand sanitizer, but that doesn't mean that hand sanitizer doesn't kill 99.9% of germs.
Right.
Same way vaccines kills 99.
So,
um,
do you have other shows on other platforms?
I would say that we go and do debates on other channels that
We broadcast on
we
other
are
platforms.
broadcast. And one day I would like to be a Gizmo and I would like to produce other people, but we need
Right.
eventually we're gonna get more funds. I would love to actually do that.
Yeah. As I don't know,
Why?
there's
Do you
this
think
point I want to
Soros is
bring up.
giving us extra? Do you think he should
No,
promote us?
I feel like there's this point I want to bring up, but it's not like directly, but it's just like, okay, maybe I'll say it. But
Do
the
it
thing
anyway.
is, I guess
Say
one
it.
of the
Do it.
things that
Do it
one of
live.
I guess criticisms, okay, that of religious people is that they're skeptical of vaccines, and that they believe that this is like some sort of
I would say
agenda.
that
But
there
that's
is.
false news, of course.
So it
I wouldn't say
used to be,
religious.
and I would say that there is. This is especially when it comes to vaccines and
Hmm.
vaccines cause autism and stuff like
Damn
that.
religion people.
I would say that it's in that instance, it
Conspiracy
is the
theorists.
far right and the far left. It's the far everything. It's conspiracy theorists. There is a certain type of mindset that
Mhm.
is. Where'd you get that data from? Did you get that data from someone else? Well, that was another person or something. And so it's
Mhm.
like, okay, whatever. Yes, we
Right.
got it from experts, people who trained years in
Right.
academia to know what
There's a
they're
lot
talking
of
about.
But
contrarianism just going
yeah,
against what most people are doing.
I wish we could talk about this, but fuck, I guess we have to steer from
Well,
somewhere
no,
else
can I
because now
tell
it's
you
just gonna go.
something? And just, I want to
It sucks.
say,
YouTube sucks.
once again, you say YouTube sucks.
Yeah.
I think it's because we are completely funded by Soros that the YouTube gods have been completely like it. Almost
They're
every
nice to us.
episode,
Yeah.
exactly. Almost every episode is under review, but then we submit it for review, and it's like 95% more that we get through. And I think it's because we view ourselves as the R-rated Mythbusters. And so I swear
Okay.
there's someone on YouTube going, "Oh, that's
Politically
funny."
incorrect.
Exactly.
Okay.
Say I lose my voice.
Yeah, I've been hit from the YouTube algorithm a couple times for you know.
Why does that not? I don't think that comes as a shock to anybody. But, you know.
Oh, come on.
But we
I've
said
been
you love.
I've just read some Bible I've been behaving, so I've just I'm still on there, which is
You
a
have been
miracle.
behaving.
Hallelujah.
Good Bible boy.
Hallelujah. Still
Hallelujah.
still on YouTube. So yeah.
100 subscribers now. Woohoo!
Man, this
Right. Did you take a name? Do you have a title and everything?
yeah, just John Vance.
Look, keep it simple. That's why I like Amy Newman. I also like
There you
Amy. I always say Amy, short for Amy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've been posting stuff about, just some shorts.
That's right,
And
Dale.
actually I find that the shorts are like you get more exposure from the shorts than you do from your longer videos.
So I've heard that too. I've done 2 TikTok videos. You need to do 5 for the algorithm to actually put you in like a community. And so
Okay.
I need to do that. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that's the way to go. And I mean James and I can blabber on for a long time. So we really
we
should
can.
be good at this. We need to figure
Yeah.
these TikToks and the shorts. Pull up your
Yeah.
shorts videos or
I am
leave them.
Cornholio.
So
Amy is Cornholio.
Yeah. Is there somebody else that wants to come on? I apologize for that.
No,
No.
and so I will say we'll give you about 10 or 15 more minutes, John, and then we'll finish out by sending love to our Patreons, and I have my lovely prophesied speech that I have written, but let's continue downward. We
Okay.
can't help it.
Oh, boy.
It's because James kind of predicted this, and we thought we couldn't help that. I think this question alone just leads to it branching out into a million different things.
Right.
But we were on ghosts, but we want to know.
You
God,
bring in
someone
you
talk.
bring in very interesting energy. Like you put out, you're this very skeptical person, and you bring out this energy of just like you want to bring out the opposite people into your ring.
Exactly.
and it's very fascinating because I like it's like I play a role and you play a role, and
We learn about each other's
I
worldview.
could we could probably flip the tables too maybe one time as well, but I feel like that wouldn't be appropriate for this video.
Oh, it go both ways. Trust me.
That's right. I do well. What's it? I do well on my knees and on top. Is that what you're trying to say?
Just like I hope maybe I'll just have to maybe do some prayers after the show if I were to be a
At least
rationalist,
5.
I guess.
Oh, I
But-
like to think this show is as blasphemous as possible. We aim for it.
Yeah.
Hey, God, it's not
Yeah.
mocked.
It will not be mocked.
Life, like I guess the saying is with Shakespeare is life is a play, and I like to approach it that way. But anyway, so we're going back to God, like regretting things. So basically, here's my argument and how I can make it, I guess, palatable for YouTube. So basically, humans are corruptible. Humans are that's right. Humans are corruptible. They're greedy, they're materialistic, and they could have ulterior motives. So the purpose of having a higher deity is that because you know we're very complex beings, I guess you could say, we have to have a kind of and we have a big civilization. We can't necessarily go off of like greed and or I guess go off of our own judgment, because sometimes we can justify lying. Like some people, they can justify lying because they're very smart, they're very manipulative, and they don't have a conscience, and they're, I guess you could say, some would say, psychopathic. And so the argument would be, well, how would an atheist condemn that type of behavior if they can get away with it, and then they could be very successful and in the material realm, be like, oh my God, like how did they get so successful and everyone loves them and
You mean
everyone
how can we
is at their beck
bad
and call,
behavior?
and then they get screwed over. And so basically this can come into all types of fields. It can come into this type of behavior, can corrupt the arts, it can corrupt science, God forbid. It can corrupt politics or whatever, or I guess you could say it can even corrupt religious institutions. And so what would be like your remedy that you would appeal to get the moral high ground? I guess if you were to talk to someone who's I guess who's done a lot of damage to a lot of people, and how
Can I
you
tell
would
you
condemn them.
why ethics that's based on a situation and not only biology?
Uh-huh.
And I remember to go back.
We'll
Why
get
that's
back
the
to
first
the cycle
pillar.
day.
If your hand, we were talking about stealing. That's, I would say, most atheists do not like that type of thing. But if your hand grew back, it would be something different. Not only would atheists probably have not that big of a deal with it, but then many Muslims may not like that as a punishment. So
Right.
already we're starting to see why our biology plays a part in moral decisions. But then we go one more further, I would say conscious, maybe even sentient creatures is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with beings who can feel pain, that good and bad things can happen to them. And so it is really with that mindset, because it's really not what to push back on generally on. It's not theism. It's not what a god wants. It's, we shouldn't steal, not because a holy book said so, not because a god wrote on our heart, we shouldn't steal because it would hurt the person that we're stealing. Most likely, that would be the outcome. And so we have to just think about it, and we have to come to rational decisions, and we have to, when we were children and maybe just took something because we didn't think about it and we didn't really have any repercussions or even know that someone else could have repercussions, that was one thing. But you go through life and you go, man, I don't want to feel that way. I wouldn't want someone doing that to me. And nowhere does there's no other third party. It's just us and the other person.
Okay. Now, what would you say to somebody who says that I can get away with it? I can, I can still get people to worship me. Because I feel like,
hold on
yeah,
1 second. Just help me frame your question a little.
Sure,
You
sure.
said help me get away with it. Do you mean stealing?
Yes.
So someone finds a way, a really good way of stealing.
Absolutely.
So what's the scenario though?
It could be anything from scams. It could be, like I said earlier, like religious scams. It could be politicians. It could be.
I love scam
be
banners. A shout out.
It could be your Nigerian prince that needs to be sent $4 million.
Can I tell you something?
But there's people.
I learned something just out of randomness.
Mhm.
I know, but I realize now why it's a Nigerian prince, maybe because Nigeria is the largest, most populous country in Africa. I know this will sound I wasn't into geography when I was younger. Now I'm very much, because I want to visit all the places out there. But it is if you'd like to look into a random country in Africa.
It's a very large country.
Right.
It's an actual middle ground power with high living standards. Nigeria.
Right.
Okay. Right. And actually, one
Okay.
more shout out to Scammer Payback and
Kip
Boga, who just do. And I swear, James, we may end up doing that one day, because I've done it non-professionally, where I'll just sit there and and I'll fuck with them.
I think we all have
shit out of me. Yeah, we should record it.
Well, like the jobs I work, sometimes they got not like the normal like refund scams, but they'll call and say like, yeah, your business hasn't paid its power bill, and we're gonna have to shut you off. But if you could go out the back door with the money, we won't have to do it. How much money do you guys have on hand right now?
And you need Target gift cards. Amazing. Only those.
Yeah.
We'll go around the back so nobody's embarrassed.
Oh man. Yeah.
And that's funny. A lot of times you go in the back and they're embarrassed.
I've heard of scams of like people like pretending to be like the IRS and getting people's social security number. It's like, hey, if you don't give us your information, we'll put a warrant out for your arrest, and that, and then like, oh, people freak out.
They're like, oh,
yeah,
we have we just realized that we have a $6,000 refund from 2013 that we never got to you. Can we get this information so we can get your check out to you right away? We'll direct deposit it. Can I get your bank account, your router number, your checking account number? Yes. Your social, your mother's maiden. Yeah.
So
we ruined your hypothetical. Really?
So no. Actually, here's another thing that I also would like to consider, and I guess some would say some Luciferians actually believe in. So those people that are getting scammed, I guess I would put in quotations, they voluntarily gave their information or they gave their money to them. And so therefore they are justified in what they're doing because it was consensual, because they
Unless
voluntarily consented.
unless they lie to them. Some of them they'll word it very carefully, so nothing I
Right.
say is technically a lie, but it's very deceptive and
Well,
misleading.
a lot of the scams, they will create fake websites. They'll just edit the HTML. They'll edit
Mhm.
Notepad, and there's lots of ways to screw over grandma,
Right.
unfortunately.
Right. And so how
Feed them
would,
to crocodiles.
I guess, so would you be of kind of the what's the word, I forget.
Kinky, yes. What?
No, no, no. Um, I'm trying to think. Malthusian premise of, so if these people get scammed, that's that's, I guess that's nature working its course, and it's just a
So that is I would say, a misinterpretation of survival of the fittest, because I would say cooperative games almost universally benefit everyone. Uh,
Mhm.
so no, you don't have to screw people over to survive. To Evolution doesn't dictate that you. It not that you look, if you steal and no one knows, and you get away with it, you have just gained. The person probably, well, there's a chance, especially if they are not a big corporation, that you have hurt them. Uh, but I mean, and it scales. We can talk about, up until murder. But I think almost all of these questions deal with biological conscience agents in the natural world.
Mhm. And what would you say to the people like the Luciferians that say that, well, this is consensual, so I'm morally justified in doing this?
And I would also say this is the advantage of us saying that it's based on those two premises and a situation. We could go to any country in the world and say, no, female and male genital mutilation of children is
Hmm.
evil. And
Yeah.
we don't have to say that, oh, it's one culture and another culture. We can say, no, this is religion trying to do something that these kids do not have the intellectual authority to deal with yet. And so once they're 18, if they decide to do that, fantastic. And
Uh,
the pushback normally comes, well, what about the trans? And actually,
the trans. Yeah, I was actually just going to bring that
generally,
up.
I'm
generally,
sure you were.
um, the regulation is that surgery is 18 post. So, you deal with thing on a sliding scale with age. If they're having terrible symptoms at
Hmm.
teens, and we are dealing with teens, then you generally deal with puberty blockers. If they're older, you generally deal with puberty blockers and then a hormone, because they seem to
Right.
not, there's years of them constantly picking a, a single one, not them being in between or confused. They all signs seem to be this. And then once you're 18 and you have been on puberty blockers and you have been on hormones and you have made the decision, then you can get surgery. And so the same should be true of any religious
But
practice.
I think it's a straw man, though, to say that there are currently like hordes of kids under the age of 10 getting full surgeries, which is just not happening. But
Yep.
that's the meme that they want to put out there to get everybody scared. Oh my gosh, if we allow any treatment for transgender children, basically the next step is march them all out to get surgeries at the age of 6 or 7, and there you go.
Right.
Which is not happening in any real way, which nobody is for that. But yeah,
Yeah, good. I don't know if YouTube. I don't know if the algorithm is onto the YouTube, but I have some. I have some things I have to say. So first of all, it's just like, oh shit, it's Pride Month. You just have to be careful.
Shut it
It's a
down. All
precar-
right, shut it down. Oh,
it's a precarious month for you.
All right, I guess it's my time. All right, I'll see you later.
no,
Um,
well, I will say,
mhm.
because it is coming up on an hour, we are eventually going to be wrapping up, but it's not because of Soros. He actually said we could go over time. But I'll
Oh,
let
thank you,
you
George
say
Soros.
that's right.
So
But
At the
I'll let
first
you
time in your
finish
life
your
you've
comment.
thanked George Soros for anything.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's hard. At each check, I feel like he cries a little on the inside. But I will let you make that point. I want you to have your final
okay,
say on God speaking to us, you, everyone. And then
yes,
just like I asked Chris, I do have my final question that I can't help but ask.
okay,
But the ball, once again, I'm handing it.
cool. I'll catch the ball. All right. So basically, so God teaching us. So basically, we have an intrinsic kind of. Some people, now this is kind of biological. Some people have a disgust reaction. I guess some would say if like drag. There was a video of a drag queens dancing
Can
in
I
front of
pause
children.
you?
Sorry.
Okay. But I always hate the taste thing because I would just like, you would agree many people don't like the taste of coffee.
Many people don't like the taste of coffee.
Yes. I know this seems
Go
random.
figure,
I'll be
right?
fancy. I'll say
It's kind of weird.
esoteric. But just
Huh.
go with me. Follow me down this route.
Okay.
Do you agree that many people don't like coffee? In fact, would you agree with me? Many people find coffee disgusting.
Um, I don't know. It would depend upon your sample size. I
I think
see
it
Tim
hits you
Hortons and
there.
it's always full, so I don't know.
So it seems like that shouldn't be really a metric that we're using for really almost anything.
I think it's a non sequitur what you're bringing up. I don't
Is
know what
okay.
coffee has to do
Well,
with it. I
okay.
don't see where you're connecting with
So
with
you,
what
Right,
I'm trying to
DMC.
say.
What's up, PMC? You could say it's a non sequitur. Let's see where this is going. I'm handing it
Yes.
right back to you.
Thank you. I'll don't worry. I'll try to be as quick as possible. And to the point. So basically, I was just saying that some people have a disgust, and I guess that those would be conservatives, and some people are more tolerant, which would be, I guess, more liberals. So some people find it disgusting that there is drags, queens, dancing in front of children and stuffing them their underwear with dollar bills. So either for I'm just YouTube. I'm just doing a neutral thing.
Can I ask though, do you
Sure.
think that is a common thing? Because I want to say the word that I hear a lot, and I find it's almost a form of projection, which is a narrative.
Sure. Why not? We all go by narratives. Like that's kind of how humans process information and how we socially interact with each other and what is acceptable, what is not. That's why I'm very conscientious on there's a certain narrative on a certain platform
But
and certain
see, can
powers that
I?
be that only allow certain things, but I'm being careful with my words. And so I'm trying to put it as neutral as possible. I'm just saying that some people would find it disgusting and some people wouldn't. And I'm just
Well,
saying
I
there's
would
a
say
metric for that.
there's a reason you find it disgusting because it was created for you to find it disgusting. That I I don't think
That's
that
interesting.
I won't think most drag queens are going out trying to stuff dollar bills down children. I think that basically it's the age. I mean,
Well,
what it
children are
sounds
stuffing.
like.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just
well,
gonna correct you. Children are stuffing dollar bills down their G-string.
Well,
Sorry.
I guess either way, what
Yeah,
it
yeah.
sounds like it's the time they have tried to do this like um gay equals being groomed to be pedo type of thing. That seems to be the common and you've gotten it since gay marriage, adoption. It's the common and
They're coming for the
almost
kids.
always they're coming for the well. I'm and my common joke is always the moment that they say, and not you, of course, but the moment that anyone else says, oh, someone look out for the women and children.
Someone get
Almost
Dr. Bell in here.
always, it's just watch your wallet. Um, but that's what I mean by a narrative is that it's that and CRT. I've been on a CRT panel, and and the reason I tie it together is not because I think we should be teaching children CRT. It's that children are not learning CRT. My given joke is if they are learning algebra in algebra class, just be happy, folks. You think they're learning extracurricular, and all of it? Listen, they're being paid to do English 102 and they're teaching English 102. Those type of in my view, once again, and this is just my lay opinion, and politics is nothing more than opinion, as we've been laying into this, is that both this trans children drag thing and then CRT and the replacement theory and all this shit, they're narratives that were completely created because, and I will say this, it's because the religious fundies, the super conservatives, they got no real issues. I mean,
Nothing
it's
else to
first
talk
world
about.
problems. There's
They gotta
nothing
make
else
them
out
up.
there. Like if your biggest worry is which bathroom a trans person uses, oh my God. I hope you don't have bills. I hope you have health care and no one's sick in your universally they're all just first world problems. Because I have a problem with the word first world, third
So you're
world.
kind of the philosophy of live and let live.
Not live and let live. If there was a massive effort to have drag queens promoting drag queen story hour dollar bill time or replace
Into
the
elementary schools.
because of
Yeah, I
how
mean, there has
terrible
been
whites
drag
are.
queen story time,
But
and
see,
there has
what
been
there
alright.
has been, let's go back to the hand sanitizer. If
Okay.
99.9% of classes are not that, but you show the 0.1% of that, it doesn't mean that the 0.1% of that is wrong. It just means that statistically, you are not accurately representing what's going on in school. Well, sending so much love, Chris. Oh my
Thanks, Chris.
goodness. I'll even say,
So
oh
generous.
my God, for you. So good night, Amy, James, and everyone. Very interesting and entertaining discussion. Going to try and actually sleep this time. Or perhaps I am already sleeping, and this is simply my consciousness interacting.
Next time we'll be
There's
able
actually
to,
a Buddhist saying. That's an interesting. I like that super chat, by the way. There's actually
next
a
time we'll
Buddhist
be able to
saying
go
of
into the thing about God feeling regret because he wanted to touch on that a little bit more. But
yes, well,
he had an answer for that.
He's
So
open
we'll
to
go into
that.
that.
To be
Sorry,
continued.
I like the super chat. There's like a Buddhist, and it actually does in the Bible too about like altered consciousness. So if you have the same attitude that you're in a dream state as you are when you're supposedly awake, it just ties into an alter. I forget. Maybe I'm botching a little bit, but it's basically like like this life could be a dream state. You know what I mean? So treat it as a dream state. Life is a dream. Life is a play, like Shakespeare says. So maybe I'm botching a little bit, but that's kind of that was an interesting super chat. I like
The
that.
general
Am I
gist.
sleeping? Am I not? Maybe he was being joking, but like I took it seriously. So like I take
No, I mean,
energies,
look,
and I take I felt even kind of bad
So you take
recommending the
energy?
Ouija board experience. But if you want to do it, that's fine. I'm just saying it's your own free will. Maybe I've influenced you by speaking the idea,
That
but
is our
I
bread
pity the
and
demons who
butter.
try to mess with her.
I know. Bring it on.
Come on,
Like
demons.
the aliens
Come on,
before
Jin.
them, I will probe. I will probe them. So bring it, demons.
Tell the demons, what do you want to hear about attempted sodomy?
Oh my. And okay, I'm gonna ask my. That's right, and it's only attempted once again because they didn't give me enough time. But I'm gonna in a second. I'll give you like a sentence or two just to wrap up what you think about
Sure.
the subject. But I want to ask my last question. It's the exact same thing I asked Chris. I'm gonna ask it with my numberizer, just to real quickly.
Like from the Men in Black?
Yes, exactly. Had to have my glasses on. But so on a scale from 0 to 100%, how convinced are you that you have had a god, or in your case, I would say another being, agent, something paranormal, supernatural, speak to you?
1,000%.
1,000. So you're 100%.
Sure, 100%.
100% sure. Okay, so I would. You could tell me if you have two answers. You could tell me if you have one answer. But it's really, this is the big question. What would it take for you to go from 100 to 99%? I mean, if you want to go further or to convince you the other way, I'll take it. But what would it take to just crack in that of doubt?
So you feel like it's almost like you're using when you phrase it that way, it's almost like you're using like the Christian narrative of like the Holy Spirit cracking. What's going to take to crack? So it's like you're using like the same religious language, but as Christians.
What would
Can I pause
your,
there?
But I appreciate the question.
Okay.
I just feel like
continue.
that would just.
Hey, Adam.
What's up, Adam?
I don't know if that I would ever dwindle my faith. I guess there would be times I guess I would dwindle my faith, and if I was like conducting science experiments and I was maybe trying to prove maybe a theist wrong or something like that, like that would like I don't even want to say that because I feel like there would be consequences to if I were to say. So I would just say it's
that maybe you would
impossible. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't say impossible. I guess I would say it's only possible if I just diminish my faith in a higher realm, in a higher morality. So I guess there's always a possibility in suspending my moral duties to the higher being or higher God.
So if I could say, what you're saying is
or Yeshua, I guess
you don't know what, but you're open to it if it does. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, it's almost blasphemy even to say 99%. Honestly.
Well, it's funny you say that. I see, and I think that's way more intellectually honest. Not saying you're being intellectually dishonest, because I think you do believe you are 100%. But I've gotten pushback. I had a debate. I'm trying to think if it was with Gavin, but he's basically asked me how convinced I am that the Abrahamic God is not real, and I said 99%, and they flipped out. Basically said how arrogant I was to give that much of a high percentage.
Sounds like
when I thought that was an actual much more reasonable, because if I feel like if I had said I'm 100% convinced that a God is not real. Now, it's funny. I feel like atheists have to take it on board. It's one of those things that, like, if because we hear it all the time from theists, more than we'd like, unfortunately, from the skeptic community. But I find atheists, you will hear much lower numbers. We are open-minded. We dance around in blasphemy. But yeah, I'm just going to hand the ball one more time. We have been calling me skeptical. It has been fun, but we want to know, have you or anyone, have you spoken to God?
They're different deities, maybe. I wouldn't say like we think of God, we think of like Morgan Freeman and Bruce Almighty,
That is
and having a and give you all these godly powers, and then Jim Carrey abusing his powers and realizing how much of a responsibility it is. I guess maybe that's like our default and what we think about, like, oh, as God speak to you and giving you powers. I would say, but those who are seeking God, if you're any theists out there, I would say that God, it's a very organic experience. It just doesn't come in at once like we think at the movies. I would say it's just based upon, we all have different paths, but it all leads back to faith. And whatever God is leading you towards, have faith in that direction, and you will grow as a person, and you will consider different viewpoints, um, and have respect for people, even if they don't believe in a higher morality, and just I guess when you see things through God, when you have an unconditional love, so it's hard to be, I guess, regretful in that state. So that's probably the best way that someone can have an experience with faith and growing as a person just in general. So I know there's lots of people out there that they've had bad experiences with religion, and it shuts them off from God, and you can see it in their demeanor. And maybe that's somehow atheists come in that, right? And so I'm just saying that I respect your free will into choosing your belief. I'll disagree with you morally. Maybe scientifically we can agree on some things, even though I'm not much of a scientist. But I do believe in like peer review studies and checking your source and all that.
Myself.
But yeah, if you're doing like maybe a peer review study on faith, you want to make sure that your scholarly faith is your source is legit, as opposed to a big church scam artist. So I guess that's like God gave us a rational brain, so he didn't just make us to speak tongues and and have seizures on the ground. So.
We could all agree prosperity gospel is full of
yeah that's nonsense. That I always get skeptical when people say, oh, just with love and light, and just raise your vibration and you'll get all the money in the world. And I kind of get skeptical when people.
I was gonna say, now
I mean, it's not a bad thing to have money. It's not a bad thing to be successful.
I think James and I both, we want trade. We like a market. I would say you just don't like anyone being crony. You just don't like anyone being an asshole. But
yeah,
I mean, you want mom and pop to be selling popsicles or cookies or whatever the hell they're selling. You just don't want people putting lead in the water.
Yeah, exactly. So
and all right. John, thank you so much for joining us. Feel free to join us for more Calling Me Skepticals and all of our open mics.
Cool. Thank you for having me, and thank you for letting me talk. And I realize that I like that you invite this kind of energy in of people who believe in the supernatural, and you're like a very skeptical person. So I feel like this show really thrives on the duality of that. So I appreciate your energy that you're bringing out to the universe. And I guess the universe is, I'm just playing the other side of the role of the universe, and we're playing out this duality, and people love it, and people want to donate to your show because of it. So I appreciate it. So yeah, that's all I got to say.
Woo-hoo.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so very much, John, for calling us skeptical.
Yep, no problem.
Well,
Woo-hoo.
woohoo! That was a
That was
wild ride, but we
that
made it. We
was.
are strapped in.
And I do think those will be our callers for the night. I think we're going to wrap up basically with the Patreons and then
Continue with that.
our
Any
closing statements.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was fun. And I want to thank both of our panel hosts as well as our special guest host, Atheist Jr., for calling us skeptical tonight as we were looking for people to talk to us about whether God talked to them. And I saw a lot of also funny comments I'll show in a second, but I do want to
X
send.
music is dumber now. Yeah.
Listen, I do want to, as often people say, and I feel bad even making that joke because that has nothing to do with our panel host tonight. But often people say Idiocracy is a documentary. I would just say it's the past few years that make me bring up that joke. The void, sometimes, the void. Once you stare into the void, the void stares back. Sometimes. A
People
good
talk
movie.
to God, but when he talks to you, that's when something's wrong.
Well, that is spoiler alert for closing, but a good movie that just came out. Something Somewhere All at Once. It was fantastic. Very random multiverse movie. The main villain, she talks about the everything bagel, which I think is actually a black hole. Stare into
The everything bagel.
the everything
It's
bagel.
good, like from Dunkin' Donuts. Like, speaking of that, maybe another hour it'll be time for an everything bagel with like bacon, egg, and cheese. Yeah, on everything bagel toasted.
And we can eat bacon.
Of course, bacon. Oh, we lost,
Yes, sending love also. So we were sending love to Oz, Ian, Grumpy, Diana, and Pat, Dale, but also Dave Gar, who's been hanging around.
Dave Gar. I saw him before the
Earth.
show. Yeah.
That's right, sending love. We oftentimes tuck him into bed. If we're tucking you into bed, we hope you're having a good night. If you're waking up and drinking your coffee too, we hope you're having a fantastic day.
An Irish coffee, even better.
That's right, just a little. But also sending love to Scott Duke, reminding us. And there is a kitty is, I think, a good example, reminding us that other animals. I think it's so funny, just how anyone could claim that other animals are not. Well, oftentimes I'll get pushed back on introspection, sure, sentience, and then consciousness. If you don't think a cat, a dog is consciousness, that's something wrong with your consciousness. That's all I have to say.
I don't get conscience. But when Otangelo was saying they're not conscious because they don't have language,
No, that I know that is so.
That is
yeah,
just
exactly.
silly.
There were for years times when humans didn't have language because it developed
that's
slowly.
a silly claim.
It didn't happen overnight. It wasn't like people just started speaking English.
There are degrees of communication, speech.
And also sending love.
That's Penelope down there.
She is. I kind of want to. Oh, I can't even. I feel like if I move, she'll move.
Most likely. Producer is asleep at the job right now.
Well, it's a hard. You gotta have the best catnip, and that ends up putting you out. But
that's that catnip treats. The tantalizing. I don't even know what they call it, but that's the one he likes. Yeah,
Tantalizing affair.
catnip flavored treats.
Oh my. And also sending love to Regos. I'm not going to be grabbing items, I think, for a second. I can't help it. She's nested.
She's mentally grabbing the props, though. She is still Carrot Top.
That's right. We're going to be speaking. Actually, I can grab Regos right here. And reminding us we should be doing an episode. We have Big Bang on the mind. We're going to be doing a few episodes of that, and as well as our 1K sub party. It's either next Friday, this Friday. We're figuring that out because we are about to be doing our 1K sub. We got everything ready for channel membership, as well as we hope that it gives a lot back because I think they're cool emojis. I think they're cool badges. I hope it triggers creation.
They did come out really good. They did come out
exactly
good.
Right. It's not just colors. The badges evolve. Oh yeah.
Just like life. Just like life.
But also sending love to the wonderful and fabulous Rachel Holland.
Thank you, Rachel.
Someone loves Rachel Holland. Reminding us that the Bible would never promote slavery. No, not that. Adam says, I'd love to chime in. Absolutely. So
we will be doing a call-in show.
Exactly. We're about to be wrapping up on this episode, but we are going to be doing not only probably another skeptic and ranting episode on the Big Bang on a video, and then we'll probably be doing a midnight ranting open mic. The Call Me Skeptic, the former also has an open mic, but they tend to be shorter videos. Cat Bible review. They're like, can't have bacon. This is the only cat, can I tell you, that I have ever seen that is omnivorous. This is an omnivorous cat. Okay? This cat eats potato chips and popcorn.
Really?
Yes. She will eat almost anything. It is incredible.
That's like my dog Ryder, because he will eat almost anything, and most dogs will not do that either. But
oh, and Ryder's so cute. Is Ryder taking a nap?
They're both snuggled up right next to each other.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
That's like I had Mindy and Peaches as a child. Because if they're raised
usually
together,
fight with each other, but
right now they're cuddling.
Right now they're both passed out. Yeah.
But yes, sending love to Rachel Holland.
Thanks, Rachel.
So much love, and also sending love to Boom 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 Senator Cato. Woohoo! Because the separation of church and state is so important. In fact, it doesn't matter what religion you are. Chances are you're a chosen theocracy. Don. Oh, God.
You want to be living in a secular society.
Yes, because you will then be able to be whatever religious or non-religious belief that you want to be.
You want to go to this church? Fine. You want to go to that church? Okay. You want to go to no church? Even better.
Be you. So sending love to Senator Cato and sending love to, first of all, we had from earlier, the Tang Gang, the Atheist Roundtable, but really the queen of production herself. We are sending love to Jenna.
Thanks, Jenna.
Ooh, she has done many awesome productions that you should be checking out. Not only has she been producing behind the scenes, she has been interviewing and an interviewee. So you should go check out all of that. Fantastic.
Always. Great stuff.
Yo, what is up, Brett? Sending
Hi, Brett.
much love. Hey, we're sending love to our atheist and theist brothers and sisters.
Adam Moore is on. We got Brett on.
Woo-hoo. Yeah, I know Adam gets some shit sometimes from but I'm very Big Ten. He is his atheist and I wonder if he identifies as agnostic atheist. And send love to Brett out there, which I know, I'm interested in the Malfeasant position just because I feel like it's the actual honest position from a theistic position.
Sorry to hear that, Brett. Sorry that you had a rough week. We haven't been on in a week, so we're a little bit behind.
Yeah, my computer has been dead. It was supposed to be I'm fixing a crashing problem. And, and it seems like it has. We haven't crashed. The time that we went down was for the internet and
of all things, internet.
Yeah, you can't fix everything. But woohoo! Thank you so much, Nemodus. Sending so much love. Mwah. We really love actually coming on and just being able to talk theology, science, and even some philosophy. But I think we're wrapping up. We have our
Senator Cato.
We have Jenna, Senator Cato, and James. Well, actually, we have two more. James Wolf, reminding us that generally when you look outside, you don't see daytime. In fact, if you see daytime, it's because dawn has broken.
Not after our show.
Exactly. I also burn. When, if you put a cross up to my forehead, garlic, the sun, it just, my flesh starts to melt all places. And last, but certainly not least, the galaxy in the palm of your hand, but apparently not able to be explained by creationists, especially young Earth creationists. Because, if you are an old Earth creationist...
Especially.
Because you're just going to use science, which is fine. Please keep using science. But if you are a young Earth creationist, how does a galaxy form? And don't say God. I could just say the universe formed it. That's cool. How? How? Yeah. Well, logistics are just not that loud sounds and creationist strong.
That's right, Jamie. Jamie Russell is so sciencey. Have you ever heard of that?
So sciencey. Get down with it. Dun, 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 dun. What's up, Jay Russell? I feel
more sciencey things.
Sending all this love. I see so many theists out there. We actually are about to wrap up. We had two great theists on here. Adam says, I'm a hard atheist. I believe God does not exist, but yet technically is Gnostic as well. I do not claim to know. Okay.
Amy's a hard atheist, but not.
Yeah,
not
I
the way you're thinking.
Yeah, my joke is my joke is always though that I am a medium atheist. That there are
medium high.
Exactly. Some gods I do believe that don't exist, but I can't say that all gods don't exist because I would need. I'm trying to think, is it omnipotence? Nope. Omnipresence.
Yeah.
I need some omnis. I need to stuff myself full of omnis. But yes, and with that, I want to thank our Patreons, and we are going to finish up with closing statements. It's like the opposite, but I'm so glad that we did this because sometimes when we have waited till the end,
all the theists leave.
Yes, I've noticed the skeptics and the non-believers, or even the pagans, the deists, the science-minded people. Though John waited a little, maybe he's a science-minded people. He waited a good amount of time. So But they
he's dedicated.
and
Yeah.
we found a lot of flighty young Earth Abrahamic people before, so we just went right away. So it worked out. I'm very happy, and yeah, before we roll out for good, do 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 do.
Uh-oh. Y'all in trouble now.
And I'm gonna take a sip.
Blood water.
Sponsored by Sugar Water. Thank you for letting me have that. All right. So, has God ever spoken to you? My prediction would be no. In fact, I have found few believers who actually believe they had a chat 1v1 with their God. What we get instead are stories that their deity has revealed themselves in mysterious ways. They found our car keys. They saved us during a car crash. Though they did at the same time let a little girl die from a curable disease in another country, which is kind of odd for a all-powerful being. You would think they would have a more direct way of communicating with their people. Instead, they need to make Jesus appear in my toast. Ooh. And that's if we get believers to defend their beliefs at all. Most theists would instead defend some form of deism, because miracles are downright silly. Thus, creationists spend half their day trying to attack mainstream science. And chances are that their God has not actually said a goddamn word. So, has God ever spoken to you? Please let us know, because it's perfectly normal if you speak to your God. That's just speaking to yourself. The same thing that happens in prayer. However, if God speaks back, well, then oh my, we may have something here. That should be testable in the real world. So either show us the science experiment or seek professional help. Thank you. And all right, before we wrap up, I'm handing it back over to James. Are you sure, Penelope? Okay. I can't believe you would say something so daring and yet so truthful, but I guess you're right. We're going to have to say, James, have been calling me skeptical. Has God ever spoken to you?
No, and point in fact, he never has. But anyway, thanks everybody for the. It was a really good show. I want to thank everybody for coming on and being a part of it. It was a lot of fun. So remember, we got a few debates coming up. So on the 18th, me on Standing for Truth versus Nephilim Free on human and dinosaur coexistence. Then on the 22nd, Atheist Jr. will be debating Ken Hovind on Standing for Truth. That's going to be epic. And then I also have on the 28th, I have Standing for Truth versus T-Rock on the Flood of Noah. Let me just double check the dates on that, because I know Mark Reed has a debate coming up there too. Let's see. Atheist Juniors is on the 22nd. Mark Reed versus Ken Hovind in July. But on the 20th, Mark Reed will be debating T-Rock on Evidence of God on Standing for Truth. So check that out. Lots of great debates coming up. You guys don't want to miss it. And thanks everybody for coming on, being part of the show. It's 5 a.m. Everybody's going to bed. Yeah, AJ will be streaming that debate on his channel as well too. So if you sometimes people have some issues with the modding on SFT. So if you want to be able to chat without worrying about that, you can watch it on AJ's channel.
And all right. Thank you so very much, James. In fact, thank you so very much, everyone. Misfits one and all. I hope you had a fun time on this episode of Call Me Skeptical. Has God ever spoken to you? Where tonight we opened up the internet phone lines to see if someone could help us understand why they would think a deity talks to them for a divinely good time. I do want to thank my co-host James W. and our special guest host Atheist Jr., along with our guests Chris and John, along with the people in chat, our awesome mods who make this stream so great, and of course, lovely viewers like you who make this channel even possible. If you enjoyed the show, please don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe, because then you gain access to that bell icon, which when set to all will send you reminders to see our premieres or join our live streams. What's up, interwebs?
But hey.
Or hey, why not leave a comment once the video's done? After the show, we will be heading to the Skeptic and Ranting Discord server, the link of which is in the description below. Lastly, if you'd like to help us make even more content, we offer some perks for our supporters by checking out our Patreon at patreon.com/Amy Newman. I am Amy Newman, and we will see you all on the next episode of Skeptic Ball Z. Good night, everyone! And new
Night, guys.
computer, an extra lovely shout out to Matt and Beck and lots of people that need to be on this outro that's updated, and you're getting an extra bonus shout out that we're sending love right now.